From morning preparations to office work, to evening play. At every step of your life, MSMEs are with you, and so are we, with MSMEs every step of the way. On this MSME Day, HDFC Bank My Business wishes you a happy MSME Day.
A place where young hearts are ready to soar, and holistic learning that
நியூ ஜெர்சிலேருந்து உங்க அத்தை எவ்வளவு தூரத்துல இருந்தாலும் அதே அன்பு, அதே பாசம்.
அதே சிட்டி யூனியன் பேங்க் அவ மாறவே இல்லை. காரணம்
டெக்னாலஜில ஃபாஸ்ட், கஸ்டமர் கேர்ல பெஸ்ட்.
அதான் சிட்டி யூனியன் பேங்க்.
வாடிக்கையாளர்களின் அன்பான ஆதரவுடன் 120 வருடங்களை கடந்த மகத்தான சாதனை. சிட்டி யூனியன் பேங்க், ராசியான பேங்க், ஈஸியான பேங்க்.
It is trust, more than money, that makes the world go round. South Indian Bank.
This is a story about change. A story that goes back to 1986, when Tally empowered a generation of game changers with the means to evolve from manual to computerized operations. This is a story of 2.5 million small and medium businesses.
Delhi है, तो टेंशन नहीं है.
Jadi untuk berjalannya waktu kita tidak.
Redefine your business with TelePrime.
The life easier for everyone.
Sense of comfort.
You are saving on the hours, and you are getting more clients, and then of course you are getting more money.
Delhi है तो भरोसा है.
A story of 28,000 partners in India and across 100 other countries. As we create solutions that help transition and maneuver the compliance regime through VAT and GST. With innovative business management solutions to give you a superior product experience that's reliable, faster, simpler, and flexible. This is our story, because it is in your growth that we grow.
நம் எதிர்காலத்தை நாம் எழுதுவோமே, நம் பாதைகளை நாம் வழிவகுப்போமே, நம் விருப்பங்கள் யாவும் நனவாகுமே, நம் விருப்பங்கள் தன் வழியை காணுமே, கனவுகள் நனவாகும், உங்கள் கனவுகள் நனவாகும், கனவுகள் நனவாகும், வளரும் கனவுகள் நனவாகும். ஒரு பெண்ணின் கனவு, அது பெண்ணின் சக்தி, முன்னேற்ற எண்ணம் தருமே ஊக்கம், அதுவே நமக்கு துணிவை தந்திடும். கனவுகள் நனவாகும், உங்கள் கனவுகள் நனவாகும், கனவுகள் நனவாகும், வளரும் கனவுகள் நனவாகும். நாடும் வெளிநாடும் இணையுமே, இலக்கை எல்லாம் எட்டுவோம் மரியாதையுடனே. ஆயுஷ்மான் முன்னேறுவோம், வளர்ந்திடுவோம், நம்பிக்கையின் ஒளி எங்கும் வீசுமே.
யூனியன் பேங்க் ஆஃப் இந்தியா, சிந்தனை நிஜமாகும். யூனியன் பேங்க் ஆஃப் இந்தியாவின் எளிதான MSME லோன்ஸுடன் ஒவ்வொரு சிந்தனையும் நிஜமாகும்.
Milky Mist ice creams.
If you set out to design the future, what would you require? Machine precision? Exacting engineering? What if that wasn't the only road you could take? What if there was a higher ambition? At Lexus, we believe in a better future, where luxury is compassionate, engaging, and deeply personal. Where technology is imaginative, effortless, and exhilarating. Where Omotenashi exceeds expectations with heartfelt hospitality, where meticulous craftsmanship becomes refined elegance that captivates the senses. A future where we quietly, confidently, authentically create happiness in motion. Now relentless curiosity makes the impossible possible. At Lexus, we know that real luxury is never superficial, but thoughtfully considered and gracefully delivered. Because at Lexus, we believe in making luxury personal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all are doing well. We request you all to kindly be seated. The ones who are still standing by the door, kindly find your spots and be seated. A few housekeeping announcements for you all before we begin. And I'm sure you all are aware of it as well. Please put your mobile phones on silent mode because we would not want you to miss out on some enriching experience this evening. And do feel free to share your moments on social media using the hashtag that is BLMSME, which is in uppercase, and the lowercase would be conclave without space. So hashtag BLMSME Conclave without space. Thank you. Well, I can see a lot of movement by the door. We request you all to kindly take your places. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Businessline MSME Growth Conclave, Coimbatore 2025, powered by Janetics, simplifying automation for every industry, and HDFC Bank. Our associate partners include SSVM Institutions Coimbatore, City Union Bank, Radiance Realty, SIDBI, South Indian Bank, Tally, Milky Mist, Indian Overseas Bank, and Union Bank of India. Luxury partner is Lexus, and we would like to extend our gratitude to each one of you for your continued support. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Ekta, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the Businessline MSME Conclave, Growth Conclave 2025 Coimbatore edition. This is that platform that brings industry leaders, visionaries, innovators, and policy voices that chart the path forward for the MSME industry. Well, a fun fact for all of you. MSME are the backbone of Indian economy, contributing nearly 30% of our country's GDP and playing a pivotal role in employment, innovation, and exports. Today's conversation focuses on two compelling themes, and one would be delivering a big bang, MSME and the growing opportunities in defense manufacturing. And the other theme will revolve around navigating global trade disruptions, strategies and solutions for MSMEs in a volatile global landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, to formally welcome you all, I would like to invite Mr. Raghuveer Srinivasan, editor, The Hindu Businessline, on stage. Please give him a round of applause.
Vanakkam, good evening. Thank you all for coming here this evening for our flagship event, MSME Growth Conclave. It gives me great pleasure in inviting you all to this event, which we have very carefully curated. This is the 5th year we are doing MSME Growth Conclaves, and this year we have expanded the edition into 2. We had a very successful event, MSME Growth Conclave in Bangalore day before yesterday, and we have brought it to Coimbatore on MSME Day. Greetings to all the MSME representatives here on MSME Day. So, unlike in the past when we focused on the issues that MSME face, funding, logistics, distribution, technology, this year we decided to do something more thematic, which will be contemporary as well. And what better than defense supplies, where our MSMEs have done excellently, and which we did not know ourselves until Operation Sindoor happened. The role that MSMEs are playing in defense, the very important role that they are playing. So we have a very power-packed panel that is going to look at how MSMEs are playing a major role in defense industry, with the government of India deciding to go Atmanirbhar, Make in India, whatever slogan you want to use to encourage domestic defense production. So these MSMEs suddenly now see a huge ray of hope in terms of growth. At least that's what we heard from our panelists in Bangalore, where we had a similar panel. We have chosen the next subject also very carefully. That's on trade disruptions. We all know what the world is going through now as Mr. Donald Trump unleashes his policies on all of us. He may be making America great again, but he's making us all very poor again in terms of trade and trade policies and disputes and resolutions and everything. So we have, again, curated a very carefully chosen panel of experts to discuss navigating global trade supply disruptions, people who are on the global supply chain. And we also have a fireside chat here with an expert on global trade, who's also a columnist in our newspaper and other newspapers. So we have, over the next couple of hours, lined up some very interesting conversations for all of you. So I hope you all enjoy it. Stay until the end, ask questions, and take something back home with all of you. So without much ado, I will now stop here and welcome you all again here to this event on behalf of Businessline. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And also thank you for setting the context for today's evening. Like he said, we do have panel discussions and fireside chat coming in for all of you. That's why a kind request, kindly put your mobile phones on silent once again. Ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, we are honored to have with us this evening Ms. R. Nandini. She is the immediate past chairperson, CII, Southern Region, and Managing Director of Chandra Textiles. She is a strong proponent of sustainability and innovation in the textile sector. Ms. Nandini has been a torchbearer for women in this industry and in MSME excellence. Now, may I like to invite her on stage. Kindly give her a round of applause.
Mr. Raghuveer Srinivasan, editor of the Hindu Businessline. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a happy MSME Day. It is truly an honor and privilege to be here this evening at this very thoughtfully curated event hosted by Hindu Businessline. I extend a warm and heartfelt thanks to the organizers for bringing me to this platform. And Coimbatore, as we all know, is a very important... yeah, but it's interfering with my speech and my vision. See, it's like this, not comfortable. Okay. This one? Oh, give me a hand mic or something. Okay. So Coimbatore, as a city, has long stood as a beacon of industrial innovation, entrepreneurial resilience, and inclusive growth, thanks to the outstanding knowledge sector that has been prevalent in this region for the past, actually more than 100 years and more. I also take this opportunity to warmly acknowledge the presence of the distinguished panelists, moderators, industry leaders, and guests. We meet today at a pivotal moment, as Raghuveer has already said, how pivotal it is, considering all the geopolitics that is going on around us. At the same time, we are navigating in an increasingly complex international environment, one marked by global volatility, shifting trade dynamics, rising protectionism, and rapid digital disruption. India today stands not just at crossroads, but at a launching pad, I believe. One of the clearest indicators of transformation is the defense sector, a space that was traditionally closed and rigid. Today, it is opening doors to innovation, entrepreneurship, and private enterprise, as we see. And this is not just a shift in policy, it is a fundamental shift in mindset also. We are witnessing the birth of an ecosystem where startups, MSMEs, and technology innovators are being invited to contribute meaningfully to national security and defense preparedness. Here is where Coimbatore plays a very significant role, and with our city's long-standing legacy in engineering, manufacturing, and high-precision industries, we are uniquely positioned to contribute to and benefit from this transformation. It has already been said before that MSMEs have been the backbone of the Indian business ecosystem, and today they contribute nearly 30% of India's GDP, accounting to over $1.1 trillion in the year 2025, and they employ more than 120 million people. And they're also responsible for more than half of India's exports. In Coimbatore, our MSMEs are the bedrock of industrial growth. Whether it's motors, pumps, castings, textiles, or components, our companies embody innovation, resilience, and an incredible work ethic. And organizations like Codicea are a standing example that has been doing some outstanding interventions and facilitated work for its MSME membership. There is an opportunity in the form of foreign direct investment too, and India's FDI inflow, as you know, has doubled in the past decade, a clear sign of global confidence in our economy. And cities like Coimbatore have emerged as destinations of choice for FDIs. Our city, with its legacy of industrial depth, talent ecosystem, and strong business culture, is more than ready to claim its place in this narrative. This city has a strong history of collaboration, particularly with German companies, and is globally renowned for its commitment to quality and ingenious problem solving. We need to actively showcase these inherent strengths to the global stage. This was also acknowledged recently by Mr. Dares Ahmed, IAS, MD of Guidance Tamil Nadu, in his recent interaction with CII in Chennai. Over the years, CII has made MSME development a cornerstone of its agenda, working not just on policy advocacy, but also delivering programs that create real impact on the ground. We believe that for India to grow, MSMEs must be empowered to scale, digitize, collaborate globally, and move up the value chain. MSMEs are not only the backbone of the nation, but they are also the backbone of CII. So we have more than 65% of our membership as MSMEs. The 12th Center of Excellence of CII, the Center of Excellence for Employability and Livelihood, that was launched by Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi in February 2024 at Madurai, has started its flagship initiative, that is the Pudiya Payanam, a dedicated program for micro-entrepreneurship development focused on building skills, digital transformation, financial literacy, and market linkages for aspiring entrepreneurs. Through capacity building workshops, mentorship programs, and on-ground support, this initiative is already making a tangible difference. It is now entering phase 2 in partnership with Codicea, bringing in even more MSMEs under its umbrella. Another initiative of CII in partnership with Niti Aayog is DX Edge, a high-impact digital transformation program for MSMEs that will soon be initiated in Coimbatore. This program aims to strengthen the digital capabilities of MSMEs, with technology becoming non-negotiable in every industry. DX Edge helps enterprises adopt smart digital transformation by enrolling MSMEs and offering them free services in their digital transformation journey. I would also like to mention that CII Coimbatore's Global Capability Centers Task Force has been established, and through this, the GCC Roundtable Initiative, CII aims to promote the city as an ideal destination for GCC, R&D, design, and engineering centers of multinational corporations. So to reiterate, India's growth story is not only about national policy or urban metros, it is about cities like Coimbatore where tradition meets transformation. CII and all the other trade organizations of Coimbatore remain fully committed to this journey with vision, with strategy, and with action. So once again, I thank the Hindu Business Line and Raghuveer for inviting me this evening, giving me the honor and giving me this platform, and also this opportunity to address the gathering. I hope the audience will have really good takeaways from this evening's program. And there are so many esteemed panelists, speakers, fireside chats. I hope you have a lot of takeaways and good interaction. And thank you for this opportunity again. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nandini, for sharing your vision and also your inspiring thoughts. I would now request Mr. Raghuveer Srinivasan, editor of the Hindu Business Line, to kindly step up on stage and present her with a memento. Ladies and gentlemen, just for you all to know, it is a book from the Hindu group. Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for her. Well, she's been quite occupied with work, but she could still make some time and join us for this occasion. Moving on, now, we begin our first session of panel discussion, delivering a big bang on defense supplies. India's defense sector is undergoing a transformative phase, like Ms. Nandini was speaking about, driven by strong push for indigenization and self-reliance. The government's focus on Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, has opened up new avenues for the MSMEs to participate in defense manufacturing. And having said that, I'd now like to invite the experts on stage. To moderate this discussion, ladies and gentlemen, may I invite Mr. M. Ramesh, Consulting Editor, The Hindu Business Line, to kindly come up on stage. Welcome. Joining him on stage are our panelists, Mr. Gyaneshwar Tyagi, Chief General Manager, High Energy Projectile Factory. Welcome, sir. A round of applause for him. Mr. Sai Patabiram, Managing Director and Founder of Zupa Geo Nave India. Welcome, sir. Mr. Ashok Atluri, Chairman MD of Zen Technologies, who's traveled from Hyderabad to join us today. Mr. Sundaram Venkatapati, Director of Kodisha Defence Innovation and Atal Incubation Center. Welcome, sir. All right. So, Mr. Ramesh, for the next 45 minutes, the stage is yours.
Check. It's on.
Good evening, all of you. Wish you all, again, a very happy MSME Day. And panelists, thank you all. Very grateful to you for accepting our invitation coming here. You know, before I came here, I was just musing whether I'm going to be sitting with people who are very happy if there is a war. More war than you produce, for you sell more. Then one line from Rig Veda struck me, which I had learned some time back. There's a Manyu Sukta in Rig Veda. There is one line in it which says, Shatravaha Hridayeshu Bhiyam Dadana. Put the fear of us in the minds of our enemies so that there is no war. Which is exactly the industry that these gentlemen are involved in. It's a paradoxical situation. You see, the more these people sell, the lesser are the chance of their products being used. That is the beauty of defense industry. And that is why we want the defense industry to be extremely prosperous. Not because we want wars all the time and want those things to be used, but because we show ourselves as very strong and there is no war. And there is peace and therefore there is good economy. Now, by the looks of it, what happened after Operation Sindoor, the industry looks to be very prosperous. That is why, as our editor described, we chose to have this theme as the first panel discussion. And we are going to be discussing both the prospects of this industry as well as the problems. This is again a very interesting industry because the prospects are there. It's palpable, it's on the surface for everybody to see. And we have all kinds of numbers floating around. From 4,000 something crores to it has gone to 1.27 lakh crores, MSME procurement and so on and so forth. I don't know about the veracity of these numbers, but then, we do know that the prospects are high and growing, but also equally there are lots of problems. We know that from our discussions with people. So this is precisely what we are going to be discussing this evening for the benefit of the audience here. For starters, I'm going to request each of the gentlemen to very briefly introduce your companies. Let's say, and again, we have a very eclectic, very different panel. One public sector, two gentlemen from drone industry, one gentleman from industry association. So we have a variety here. Sir, Tyagi sir, bataiye.
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. Before I introduce and give, I would first add what you initiated, that the fear in the mind of enemy is more important than fighting the war. When I joined my service in the defense sector, somebody asked me what exactly you are doing. So my answer was that we are producing arms, ammunitions, bombs, etc., just to maintain peace. That was the answer, and that is the philosophy behind that. The war preparedness is much more important than fighting the war itself. As we all know, conventionally and by far, the Indian defense industry was being led by the defense PSUs only. Initially, there was an organization, in fact, not initially, means not long back, an organization called Ordnance Factory Board, which has now been split into 7 defense PSUs. So total 16 defense PSUs are there. One of them is Munitions India Limited. So Munitions India Limited can be considered one of the most critical arm of the defense sector, because we are producing ammunitions of different caliber, of different type, and we are catering to the defense services, all the Indian Army, Air Force, Navy, and all the CAPF also, Central Armed Police Forces. We are catering to them in a very regular and very efficient way. And besides that, now we have started export. In last 2-3 years, we have significantly exported our products to friendly countries, a very significant amount. In fact, among the 16 DPSUs, MIL, Munitions India Limited, is the leader as far as export amount is concerned. So this is all about my company right now. Further details we'll give during the course of discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sundaram, sir, please tell me about. Mr. Sundaram is, of course, the head of Codicia's Defense Innovation Center. He will speak about it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Raghuveer, Srinivasan, Mr. Ramesh. I'm also an entrepreneur, and I'm one of the directors of Codicia Defense Innovation Center. As an entrepreneur, I'm into manufacture of car garage equipments, like car lifts, as well as we are also into aluminum recycling. So there are two verticals in our business. And as a defense business, if you see, very recently we have won one of the IDEX challenges, which, they give you the problem statements, and, it's been spread all over India, and then they select the people from the ideas and concepts, whatever they deliver. So we are one among them, that is for ship, lifting of the ship. For example, when you do the hull repair and all that, you have to lift the ship. It's about 20,000 tons. So we have given an idea, and of course my daughter, she's also an engineer, so she has given this concept and it's been accepted, and we're already on this project also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And we are a part of CDIC. And what CDIC does is Codicia Defense Innovation and Atal Incubation Center. We have two portfolios in this. One is Incubation Center and the other one is Defense Innovation Center. So when we select incubatees or startup companies, we see that they have two applications. Like in future, they should be able to cater to the defense also. So we select such projects like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and things like that. So that initially, if they go into defense business, it's going to be very difficult for them. So they get into domestic or commercial business, then slowly they can get into defense. So that's how we have already about 33 startups, and around 45 startups are still ready to onboard, and we are just yet to do the selection and all that. And the advantage is what we have is, like, for example, I think SIDBI is also here. So SIDBI is also funding for these incubatees, into equities. See, if the project is a good project, if they are ready for graduation, and after that they are ready for production, SIDBI is ready to invest into their equity. And similarly, even MITI, the electronics ministry also has funded, and they are also ready to invest, and a lot of other investors are also there. So a lot of people are coming here, and major advantage here is, since most of us are all industries owners here, everybody out of different technologies and all that, so it is very easy for us to support these incubators. Whenever they have a doubt, immediately we call any one of the industry experts and then ask them, what is to be done, and they come and represent, and that advantage you have here. So that's one winning edge, though even IITs are doing very good incubation centers, but we are accelerating very fast, and we are also supporting acceleration companies. So this is all about our incubation centers, and so far, out of, I think at least 29 IDEX challenges we have won, all from CDIC, all from Coimbatore. So most of these people have already started working on these things. So that's all about Codicia.
So you have a collection of views from your members. We'll come back to you again, sir. Mr. Pattabhiraman and his son run an excellent, a superb drone company in Chennai. So he will speak a few words about his company, briefly.
Yeah, good evening to all. Now, I am the, we as Mr. Ramesh just mentioned, we are a company based out of Chennai, and we are Zupa Geo-Navigation Technologies. We, our core competency and our core strength is the, our patented computing architecture, which we use for, the unmanned systems in two ways, in vision guidance as well as for drone autopilots. So developing unmanned systems, autopilots for unmanned system, and control and communication electronics for unmanned systems. This is our core competency, and it is based on our completely indigenous patented technology. And with this, we also make drones, and we are one of the products that now we are working with the defense quite closely is something called as the Ajit mini transformer concept, where we have this drone starting from 1 kg all the way up to 5 to 6 kgs. It works on the same platform just by expanding the drone and changing the size. We are able to moderate that. So this is something which is unique. All our products are completely made in India, and we are working with the defense, and we incidentally also worked recently with the Army Design Bureau and the Ministry of Defense in coming up with the cyber security framework for drones, as well as the weeding out of Chinese components in electronics. So that's about us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Atluri's company, Zen Technologies, is a drone killer. And this company was in news very recently because they have acquired another company. So,
yeah. Thank you, Mr.
Very glad
Ramesh.
to have you here to speak a few words about your company.
Yeah, so we are Zen Technologies. We started in 1993, and we are into simulators. We make anti-drone systems which are used successfully in Operation Sindoor. We do automated weapon stations and surveillance stations. And finally, we just recently got into drone systems. So these are the 4 verticals that we do. And we think of ourselves as an IP-driven company. We think of our R&D company that we have almost 180 patents that we have filed globally until now. And the 82nd patent was granted very recently. And one of the points that Mr. Ramesh made is, the growth is being shown. Is it real or, So I'm an example of the reality of the growth that has happened in the defense. So in 22, we were 60 crores of turnover. 23, we went to 160 crores. 24, we went to 430 crores. This year, this 25, financial year 25, we clocked 970 crores. So this is the absolute truth. And my whole point is that if you're not getting into defense, you're missing a big, big bus. So please get onto the bus. And, I think, Mr. Sundaram, those kind of support systems, you should really, really get into that. Thank you.
It's really a big bus to get onto today. So, wonderful. So, we're in a happy situation. It's a good business, but again, Shatravaha Hridayeshu Bhiyantadana. We will keep that in mind. Tyagi sir, your company is a big exporter. I don't know, we put out a story about you sometime back.
Yeah, correct.
We are going to be discussing this round about the prospects of this business. So why don't you say something about the export prospects?
Yes, I'll tell. This first, in the recent, I think in 2022, Aero Show, our Prime Minister gave a statement that India now is thinking fast, thinking far, and taking decision at the speed of like a fighter pilot. So that conveyed the whole paradigm about the government thinking. I told you that Munitions India Limited is an offshoot of our original Ordnance Factory Board. During board time, I would say around 2015, the whole business size was around 20,000 crore. And out of that, 7 companies have been extracted out. And now only MIL, Munitions India itself, is targeting 10,000 this year. Last year, we touched 82,000. And all defense PSUs put together, last year registered a turnover of 1,20,000 crore. So that was a hoping progress. It's a growth rate is remarkable. 2015, the whole PSUs put together, the turnover was around 30,000 crore. So the prospects of growth are very much visible, we can say, and that story is not going to be end. We are having many indigenization yet to be done. Our big ticket purchases are still dependent on foreign purchases. And government's drive is there. It's a time-bound drive that by 2030, we should have a target of 1 lakh crore of this export instead of importing anything. So these are the all prospect, and definitely it cannot be done without association of and collaboration with the MSME. That is the backbone of Indian industry, we all know. So there is a huge, the government has provided, means Defense Ministry itself has provided so many portals on which you can go and you can find out the prospects, what are the chances, how to enter into the business. Like IDEX is there, then Srijan portal is there, then Make2 procedure is there, then SDOT procedure is there. Everything is available on the net, so you can simply approach there and just get to know what exactly, how you can enter into the business. So there is a huge potential for all the defense, there are 16 defense PSU, and put together, as on date, MIL itself is dealing with 10,000 MSME companies, 10,000 numbers. Small or big, whatever orders could be there, but there are 10,000 companies registered with 12 units of Munitions India Limited. We are doing a business in the tune of 10,000 crore, of course, and out of that, MSME business is going into the tune of 4,000 crore. So this is the prospect, we can say. And besides that, there are new ideas, and now the business dealings are changing.
May I interrupt you to ask you a supplementary question?
Yeah, please.
And I would request other panelists also to touch upon this point. How have things changed after Operation Sindoor?
Sorry?
What changes are you seeing, if any, after Operation Sindoor?
After Operation Sindoor, definitely the technology upgradation. That is the first, most important emphasis is on technology upgradation. So, see, there was a border war was also there. It was fought with the conventional weapons also, though it did not got that much attention, but there were artillery firing was also there, the huge number, but that did not attract much attention. The main attention was on the attraction was on the airfare war, which was technology war. In fact, whether it is appropriate to quote here is or not, but the big maximum contribution in Operation Sindoor was ISRO. That is the technology provided, location deciding, and this complete precision of the identifying the locations was the systems provided by our space research company, who they provided the system that was backed up and that was used by our fighter planes, our fighter pilots, and by our war room authorities. So that way we can say, to that extent, it was purely a technology war, we must say. But at the same time, the conventional war cannot be ruled out. There was a backup of conventional war, so that the technology backed up by conventional weaponry has to be there, it has to stay there. But yes, like drones can be one area which needs a lot of emphasis. More intelligent drones would be required, more precise drones would be required, that would be one area. Then smart ammunition is another thing, which is already guided, programmed, and that is one area where government is thinking in a big way, and we are having, I think, 3 to 4 projects are working in MIL itself for the smart ammunition. With smart ammunition and guided ammunition. We have a product called Pinaka. Earlier we were having this conventional Pinaka, but now there is a guided Pinaka, which the project is going on. And for that there is one private company also, Nagpur based, I think, what is that, I forgot the name. They are also developing in association with Munitions India Limited. So there is a huge, this potential is in that area. Technology-based ammunition is the in thing now.
So you see a bright future, but you are saying technology.
Yeah, smart ammunition. That is the most important buzzword is the smart ammunition nowadays. Okay. We have a lot of technology for conventional ammunition, there is no doubt, but we need to produce smart ammunition in bulk and with supported by equipment like drones and all.
Mr. Sundaram, so how excited are your members? What are you saying? How excited are your members? Are they raring to get onto the bus that Mr. Atluri was alluding to?
Of course, this Sindoor war was very successful. After that, most of the members have been asking how to make drones. So that was one thing, and how to make missiles. So this is what everybody have been talking about. Just making a drone or a missile is not that easy. We need a lot of technology involved into it. So I was just telling to our CEO, at CDIC during our last week board meeting, we said, why not we develop something like this, whatever was very important for the Sindoor. Let's have a discussion with the Ministry of Industries and what is necessary immediately. We have decided to spend money on that from Codicia. So whatever the kind of money is, we're going to spend money, develop a product, and which could sell in quantities. So that's exactly what we are looking at. And we said, let us put it on an open source to all our MSMEs here, not only in Coimbatore, everywhere, so that anybody can come into this manufacture of these components. Then, we'll put up a testing center, we'll have some, with the government, we'll align, and this is what we wanted to even talk to the Ministry of Defense, to put up an exclusive testing center here, so that, we test the product here. Once the product is ready, we split it into a number of components, child parts and all that, and give it to a lot of companies who have expertise in that, plastic components or maybe composites or motors or whatever it is, so that everybody, can join together. There's no big competition, so the final product is going to be one and the buyer is going to be one. So this is exactly what we are thinking, and we haven't yet come to a conclusion, but we are in the process of finding out what is that to be developed immediately.
Sir, how do you see this business? You're one of the...
Well, there are a few points taking over from what Mr. Sundaram said. A drone is ultimately a vehicle which is, a combination of various parts. Now, till today, it's been largely an assembly of Chinese parts that have been fitted in together to supply drones. But now with the changes that have happened since the last 6 to 8 months in the, drone sector, this is moving more towards the Indian components. So thereby, I think, there would have to be a tiered system that will develop in this post, all these actions, where you'll have the OEMs and you'll have tier 1, tier 2 suppliers. And I think that is how, as you said, sir, that the industry needs to structure itself now. And it needs to come into a kind of a structure which is suitable like the automobile industry, in a tiered manner. Now, having said that, one of the, things that, I see as a huge opportunity in this for the industry is that there has been a technological shift, as you said. Now, previously it was a lot of what you would call firepower and the might of firepower, but now it's shifted towards technology, where the entire Operation Sindoor was practically a non-contact war, where you didn't have either side going, crossing the border, but you had a whole lot of action happening around. So this is where this is where the technology factor is coming into play.
The eyeball to eyeball excitement is gone.
Yeah, that is the one-to-one kind of scenario is over. I think it's more of a situation of softening the other side before you get to the other side. So considering that, it is going to be a very highly tech-driven space. So we see also, I've been seeing a lot of involvement of technical people from the services now engaging with the drone industry, where previously you would be going with the infantry people, and you would be talking to people in the infantry or the artillery or those sides. Today you're talking to EME and signals and people who understand engineering, people who understand technology. So I think that is another shift that we've seen, where the technical cores within the defense have started getting more active. The other shift that we've seen is we've seen a lot of business now starting to come from various commands. So it looks like there has been a lot of, there's been a decentralization of the budgets, where commands now are looking at projects, looking at product development, that kind of fits their requirements based on their operational areas. So for example, in Northern Command, you get certain requirements, you're getting certain different requirements from Eastern Command, and you get a different kind of a requirement from Southwestern
Horses for
Command.
courses.
Pardon?
Horses for courses, different drones for different areas.
Yeah, so that is, so more, it's a more decentralized kind of procurement that is happening as compared to earlier where it was a lot to do with Sena Bhavan. Then the other major shift that we are seeing, okay, this is good for an industry, from an industry perspective is, today most of the defense people and most of the army people are looking at seeing how they can hit something with a drone. So they are looking at, either bombing or hitting directly with the drone. So the drone is no longer a passive surveillance tool. It has started becoming an active weapon. So there is a change or a shift from being a passive surveillance tool that enables somebody to have a better situational awareness to somebody who can use a drone as a weapon. So there is a weapon factor that's come into the drone post-Operation Sindoor that has become even more, kind of evident. And the last thing that, I see from an export potential, as you had asked, I think from a geopolitical perspective, you're seeing a huge shift happening from, you're seeing a polarization happening where you're seeing the Chinese supported sides on one side, and you're seeing the adversaries of those people, not being supported by Chinese. So you do have a situation where, Ukraine doesn't get parts which Russia gets, and things like that are happening. So considering that, this is a huge opportunity for the Indian industry and the Indian ecosystem to leverage the global demand for non-Chinese alternatives in the drone and that area. And that non-Chinese alternatives are quite large, and there are quite a few countries that are looking for non-Chinese alternatives. And this is where I see the Indian demand for drones is something that we can leverage to get much better cost economics and be globally competitive.
Lovely, thank you. Good point. Sir, please go ahead.
So I think prospects-wise, my feeling is that the government of India is really serious, and they'll buy a lot more from the Indian ecosystem. And one thing I want to distinguish is, I was in a FICCI session in which they said, Make in India is the #1 goal. We want India to be the factory of the world. So one of the questions I asked to the panelists at that, after that I was speaking, and I said, iPhone Max Pro cost $1,200. Out of that, the bill of material is $485. And of the remaining $715, can you guess how much is the manufacturing component? Which is, what does Apple pay to Foxconn? It's a question to everyone. Any guess? They pay $15, 15, not 100, 200, 300. They pay $15. So I told the learned people that if you are playing for $15 out of $1,200, is that the right play? And here you are leaving $700 on the table for the guy who have created the IP. So the whole game is not in manufacturing, but in design and development. We have to really reconcile to that. If you don't do design and development, you are playing a manufacturing coolie's job. We don't want to do that. So, having said that, the shift after post-Operation Sindoor, the shift has started, government has started saying that we need to control the IP within the products. And there is a category, fortunately, Mr. Parikor was there, he introduced this category called Buy Indian IDDM, indigenously designed, developed and manufactured. Now tell me, if you are creating world-class product, forget not India first, but world first, and you want to go to the Ministry of Defense or to any government department, do you think you can give it? It's a question. Do you think if you develop world's first product and give it to some government department, will they accept it from you?
Probably not.
No. The reason is they will ask for 3 vendors. They don't care. And as somebody said, Ashok,
so that's what we're going to be discussing the next round.
Okay.
May I intervene here? For special projects, as I told you, like IDEX and there are other portals and this ministry, MOD particularly, there are initiatives. See, it may not be that I have developed a product and I'll go to the army that I am having a product. You have to convince army that my product is worth using. You start your initiative to take it from me. So there are provisions nowadays. The army can raise a requirement And they will go for a make to procedure or something like that, where you already are having leverage, you have already developed. So through that route, you can enter and introduce your products. There is a provision.
Round of discussion.
In such scenarios, 3 vendor provisions are not mandatory.
No. So I just want to complete it. Mr. Parikar introduced Buy Indian IDDM where single vendor is possible. He introduced Make to where single vendor is possible. But that is coming is what my point is. Please go ahead.
Yagi will have a lot to say about this. One moment. When we go in the reverse order, we'll come back to you again. This is exactly what I would like you to speak, but let's speak, for a moment. So, Shatlu's point is, don't be a manufacturing coolie, as he very eloquently put. Use brain power. Fantastic points. And now, you see, it's bothered me a lot, like it must have bothered most people, that the Iranians, the Pakistanis, the Turks, they've all got ahead of India in drones. It bothered me immensely. We have done much better in many other areas. But what were we lacking in this? Then when I asked a couple of drone manufacturers who I met in IIT, by incidentally IIT Kanpur, they were saying, Bayraktar kind of drones, give us the order, we'll do it. Which means there is some problem in the order, placement, procurement, and so on and so forth. We also know from discussing with you people like you, that there are some challenges. We are not going to be heavily coming down critically of the government, but we'd like to know from you what the challenges are in this business. So please speak. Sir, in this round we'll go in the reverse order because I'd like the public sector to have last word.
So, in the question was that, sorry, I remember, what was the question?
Problems. Challenges.
So, what is that you like? The challenge is that we always assume that the government will, come and help us and try to do the research. Why should we put in our own money? So that is something that we have changed. We said, listen, let us design the product. And Zen's mentality has always been not to make the best product in the country, because it has to be the best product in the world. So when anti-drone system we started developing in 2018, we had a 5-year roadmap for the R&D. And when we were developing it, we suddenly discovered that the commercial frequencies that we use for, DJI anti-drone systems will not just need to stop them, but the enemies will fly in non-commercial frequencies because they don't have any restriction. And we started developing something called as a wideband anti-drone system, and that was actually used in the recent crisis. So the point here is...
Is it, sorry to interrupt, is it directed energy weapons?
No, that is a hard kill, but the wideband detection and jamming, it's a soft kill. So, the challenges are this, that, we want government to handhold us for everything and give money and try to do it. But today, the ecosystem is very, very developed. If you have a bold vision, you have a bold idea and great product idea, there are private investors who are going to come to you. And as we speak, we are working on a very, very large program where if you have a bold idea or you have a bold capabilities, even though we are trying to put down manufacturing, but even in manufacturing or R&D or anything, you think, listen, this is one of the best in the world, you should approach, companies like Zen Technologies and say, these are my capabilities, how can I penetrate into the defense field? So I think the challenges are there in the sense that, it's a longer cycles, but today the DAP is being revised, it's being compressed into, into few months, not few years. And I think this is a very, very opportune time to come in. Again, the Operation Sindoor that happened was a war between India and Pakistan. It was India, China, Turkey and Pakistan. But we still won the war. But the fact is that this is going to be more the case in the future, and the aspiration of industry should be, we want to create world best product, because in war there are no runners up. We will have to win each and every skirmish crisis that we happen in future.
You were saying a moment ago about the 3 vendor requirement, and then the L1 system, and then reverse bidding, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So this is, I think,
I don't know.
The GEM has been a curse for most of the guys. Number 2 things have happened there. One is the reverse auction, which is kind of really crazy because people who do, I think this is a very unfair system. And second is the single vendor. While IDDM has enabled single vendor, GEM doesn't give single vendor. But somebody was saying that GEM also has a provision, but we did not come over. So that you have not only Indian patent, but a global patent, but they still want a second vendor to be there.
So which is kind of, very foolish. But yes, again, but I think finally government has to come down to
if you want innovation, you really can't have a second vendor because the only company has the right.
The thing is, we are anti, the government for the first 50, 60 years after independence was anti-innovation. That means to say, if you wanted to change one nut from here to here, you would be put behind bars. The permit Raj license Raj would not permit you. So your innovation was killed at that point in time. So only post 91 when Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao came, things changed. So we are now, innovation, especially the younger generation can really, really go after innovation. And I think, again, guys, for those who are from, top institutes, who want to become a billionaire in 3 days or something, this is not the field. This is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So if you should have a long-term game plan here, and you should have the patience and the persistence. You may be super intelligent, but you'll fail in this. But a person with high agency, a person who says, I am going to dedicate, there will be downturns, but if you are able to sustain that, this is a very, very rewarding field.
P.G. Wodehouse, the humorist, great humorist P.G. Wodehouse puts it like this in one of his books, stubbed his toe on a brick of fate. So I suppose most of MSMEs have that experience. But I will, sir. So what's your take on this? So you also had problems.
Yeah. So, taking off from where Ashok said about GEM, because I can't resist taking off from there. Because GEM has, GEM has been very arbitrary in many ways. And they change categories, they change, they change the categories by the time you've qualified for the category, and then you start all over again. And apart from that, now recently there has been there's a live problem right now for MSMEs and startups. And GEM is insisting in the defense category to have a defense industrial license for MSMEs and startups. Now, a defense industrial license requires you to have a 30-year lease on a land, or you need to own a land. Now, either of these two, most of the MSMEs and the startups cannot get into, and especially the new age startups don't get into. And that's primarily because we are largely VC funded or investor funded, and they like asset light models. They don't want you to invest in capital equipment. So considering this, most of the new age technologies cannot today sell on GEM as of now. And we are one among them who have been, whose account has been suspended.
But then, sir,
because of this.
We see procurement through GEM going up all the time. It's gone tremendously from the numbers that they throw up.
No,
how do you explain that?
Those, I don't know where those numbers come from, and I'm not guessing on them, but I'm telling you what the problem that the MSME
okay, please go on.
Is. Okay. Now, the MSME and the startup has a problem on two counts. One is that the business model required by DDP, and GEM is, I don't blame GEM for this because this is something based on a defense, DDP's Department of Defense Productions, instructions to various units also. And today we are seeing it not only in GEM, we are seeing it even in tenders that come, that you need to have a defense industrial license to be participating in the tender. And the defense industrial license is a process that will take you at least a year, if not more. At least a year, if not more. And we're talking about new age technology companies that cannot fit this bill because of their investor requirements, as well as the fact that there doesn't seem to be a need to do it. Now, if you take a new age technology, a lot of it is electronic oriented and electronics oriented. So when you're talking about electronics oriented, I don't need to set up a facility, or I don't need to set up a manufacturing facility. I pretty much operate like what Apple or NVIDIA or Qualcomm act, where there is enough EMS facilities to manufacture, and assemble things for us and give us. So all we need to do is product development, and as Ashok said, we need to do innovation, product development, and we do the business development. We don't need the in-between factor. And it doesn't make sense to be, again, when there are huge capacities all the way from EMS facilities which will assemble 10 pieces and give you, till those that can assemble 10 lakh pieces and give you. The entire range has been set up under the Make in India government initiatives. Under those points, when the facility is there, it doesn't make sense for me, again, to put more capital into a facility which will again be 50% utilized. So, the whole exercise is, today the situation is that you're having, as he mentioned, there are FICCI events and there are other events where the army and the others are talking about 2047 where they're talking about technology domination, they're talking about going into the world with Indian technology and Indian technology becoming the global alternative for everybody. While the users are talking about that, I'm sorry to say, but DDP and GEM are in 1970. They're in the license Raj era. So, it's a quite diverse kind of 50 years that there are two parts of the defense mechanism that are sitting in. So I think this is something that needs to be kind of addressed, and we are doing whatever we can to, kind of put that up to various people. And I think something, publications and media can really help us in taking this forward. Thank you.
Yeah, please go ahead. Want to make a quick point. Just to be fair to the government, what has happened is many companies which are supplying to the defense, they were just getting Chinese drones and supplying. So government become very, very, very disappointed with some of the players, and they made this category defense license compulsory because they wanted to check the antecedents of the guys who are actually doing it, whether they are serious players, whether they are not, so their background check is done during the defense license. Why should that take 1 year? Unfortunately, it takes some time.
I would just like to mention something about that. Ashok, there is one, when you're talking about antecedents check, I think you need to understand one fact, that the government itself has a system by which it recognizes 3 different classes of industries. The first one is that you have the DPIIT, which issues the defense industrial license. Okay? MSMEs have a separate ministry which checks your antecedents, and when you are given an NSIC certificate, there is an audit done to your facility and you're given EMD exemptions for your products based on an audit of your capabilities. So the government itself has a mechanism by which it checks the MSMEs and MSMEs antecedents. When it comes to Startup India, checks the antecedents and registers startups. So when the government has 3 categories in which it recognizes businesses, applying one category alone, I think, is where the gap and the problem is.
So in this day and age, you don't need to take a year to check the antecedents of companies. Mr. Sundaram, so have schemes like IDEX, Make 1, Make 2, and so on, though they sound like good schemes. To what extent have they benefited MSMEs?
I think the audience here should first of all understand what is Make 1 and what's Make 2. Make 2 is a project which is funded by the government, and Make 1. Make 2 is NC basis. No commitment, no cost. That's the one. So mostly, this is about something like 200 crores and odd comes to the Make 1 categories, and that's most of the corporates take up these orders, so the MSMEs cannot enter into such Make 1 processes. When it comes to Make 2, it comes to the MSMEs. And when it is NC, most of the MSMEs, they just shy out. They just get out of this. The reason is, you don't, the government is not giving you any immediate orders or any assurance for these orders or anything. So on an NC basis, you develop a product or a component, and if it gets approved by the defense consumers, and only after that you get an order. And getting the approval, there are a lot of stages, like, if it is aerospace, you have to go for the semi-lac, and, you have to get NABL certification, and especially marine is very, very difficult, because you have to go through the corrosion resistant checks and all that. That takes many years. And what happens is, most of the MSMEs, they first they show the interest coming into their defense business and all that. For example, if you just take Srijan portal, that is the first thing what MSMEs start. They go into the Srijan portal and check what are the products available for manufacturing. And when you see at the Srijan portal, you have the pricing for that. The product is there, but you do not know whether the product is so big or this big. So there is no dimensions on that, and there is no proper technical things are not there. So this is one area, right from the beginning, even from Codicia, we have been representing the Ministry of Defense, saying that you put exact specification with the drawing and all that, so that, even the raw material, everything should be there. Only then, the MSMEs will be able to get into these region portals and all that. So that is one problem. When they come into this region portal, we are not able to do it. So when Make 2, when you asked, when it is an NCNC, nobody is interested. Because you do not know how much you're going to spend on the development and all that. And after development, if nobody is going to show any interest, it's a waste of money. And especially here in the Coimbatore region, if you see, most of them are catering to the automotive industry. And they make components in millions. So when it comes to their requirement, ultimate requirement is 10 pieces or 20 pieces, people think, after developing all these things, it's only for 10 pieces, so when are they going to buy again? This is one problem what we have as far as the Make 2. So last month, I was in Delhi for one of these Ministry of Defense programs, and the Defense Secretary also was there. So they just gave us about 2 minutes to, represent. I said, sir, there should be one more category in between Make 1, Make 2, or suo moto. Suo moto is if you have a product, you think this product is, the defense can use your product, that's the suo moto proposal. You can go and say that, we have this product, this is how you can use in defense. If they show an interest, they'll come and buy. So I said there should be one more, maybe Make 4 or something like that, where the MSMEs should be given an opportunity to develop the product. And once the product is developed, they get their money and then they get out. Because there are a lot of people who have small companies and they have very good technology, have very good experience, or maybe 10 of these smaller companies will join together, one from electronics, one from aluminum, one from sheet metal, one from plastic. All of them, put their technology into it, get the product done, make their money, get out of it, go for the second product. But if that is one kind of thing where you can bring the MSMEs really into this development instead of asking them to go and manufacture on an NCNC basis. So this I specifically said, but the secretary said, in this case the government may not be interested, but the DPSUs may be interested because already they are doing it internally. They may come back to you and we will consider this. I think once that comes, I think definitely MSMEs will gain a lot of things, because a lot of development centers, forget about CDIC, Codicia or anything, there will be hundreds of development centers in Coimbatore.
Yeah, that's true. Mr. Tyagi, so give us a public sector perspective about what these problems are, and if you want to speak about public sector's problems, feel free to do so.
Yeah, first I heard very carefully my three eminent panelists. I'll start with you only, sir, because I have just heard you latest, so I remember correctly. I don't know whether Make 2 has been understood in absolutely correct perspective. Make 2 has the provision for new products, mainly for import substitution, and there is an inbuilt guarantee of the quantity of order provided. See, there is an element of risk based on NCNC, of course, but that is not much. There is a provision if you develop the product and the sample size of for test trial purpose has to be on NCNC basis. Say, for example, 10 pieces or 10 number, 15 number, 20, whatever is decided beforehand. If it is established in the user trials, final product is accepted, then there is an inbuilt guarantee in the tender, in the original notice itself, that if your product is accepted eventually or finally, then we are bound to buy this much quantity, maybe 1,000 number, 1,500, whatever it is defined very well in the proposal itself. So it's not exactly that entire risk is not on the developer side, not on the MSME entity. The element of risk is to the extent of his initial sample supplied. If he is not able to develop that product, then government will not own that failure. That is the purpose of Make 2. So to that extent, I hope I stand correct. I am able to correct that perception about Make 2. Secondly, I will talk to your apprehension about, or rather your perception about this minimum three vendor scenario. It is not like that. It is not mandatory. I am telling you, as a representative of defense PSUs and as a purchaser, I am frequently buying. In the last 2 months, I have bought items worth 60 crore on single tender basis, not single tender, single vendor basis. See, we have to go for an open tender inquiry. This is the mandate of the government. There are two ways, either go for limited tender and go for open tender. And there are scenarios where you should go for limited, where you should go for open tender. And there are two bids, all of us know, that technical bid and commercial bid, that is price bid.
So even if there is only one response to the tender, you accept?
Yeah, if there is only one response, there is a clear provision. There is a clear provision. You will give, see, I am telling you absolutely from the user's perspective, there is a clear provision. We will give extension of tender opening date by 1 week, 10 days, whatever. One extension to be given as a record that yes, adequate publicity has been given. And if no other offers come, that we open single tender. I'm telling you, if anybody wants to verify, please come to Tirchi.
But
I will show the
document. Has to be properly communicated.
And
to
of
the
course,
industry.
we faced a lot of complaint from some other bidders in such cases, that you are going on single bidder. Why are you going for single? Because he was not qualifying otherwise. So, see, that is the scenario I'm telling you. Government working has become, I don't know whether the people may agree or may not agree. Now, doing business in government departments is not that difficult as it was earlier. It might be earlier, but nowadays it is very simple, very plain. It is now faceless. I tell you, we are in Tirchi and we are getting offers from Agartala. Not big items, because jam. It is courtesy jam.
So the glass
people,
is really
people
half
are
full,
quoting,
truly.
they are quoting, sending the material, getting payment online. So it is a kind of a faceless procurement nowadays. So the things that the technology has made the life easy, no doubt.
That's
and one apprehension was from your side also, sir.
One moment. So do we have time for one or two questions? One question from the audience. One question from the audience. All right. Quickly, does anybody have a quick point, a quick sharp question to any of the panelists? Because we have a couple of more sessions coming up. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Quick, sharp question, sir.
Hi, good evening. I'm Ajay Srivastava. I'm a columnist with Hindu Businessline. So my question is very straight. How far of Indian defense exports and imports data integrated with the government trade data? Do we show it in our trade data or not?
Indian export?
Our defense exports and imports
Defense
data.
export?
Yes.
See, definitely it is in an infancy stage, I would say, Indian export, but the growth is phenomenal.
No, please, my question is different. Like, do we reflect this data in the public domain the way we reflect our trade data?
I think it is reflected, very much reflected.
Yeah, it is reflected.
You see the DDP website, it is available.
Which website?
DDP, Department of Defense Production.
No, that is not the website for trade data.
Trade data you're talking about?
Yes.
See,
exports and imports.
That may be, of course, a different segment of the government. I may not comment.
Okay.
I can comment on the defense part only.
Okay.
Defense Ministry is reflecting the defense exports in the last 2-3 years. Records are available, and we are giving the target also. Next year, the current year target is 30,000 crore.
My question is, even we reflect trade data, we go at the finest nuts and bolt level to reflect everything. That data is not visible for defense.
I may not be able to comment, but I have to see the records of our other ministry, maybe Ministry of Commerce and Statistics, or those who are maintaining the records. I may not, but Defense Ministry is definitely showing it in the public domain. It is,
but this government, just as an addition, this government, 13 years back when we used to try to export, we used to be looked, as we are a peace-seeking nation. Why do you want to export kind of thing?
That's
but
not
now,
not the question.
Sir, we'll carry on this discussion offline, if you don't mind. We'll carry on this discussion offline. I mean, its subject is very vast, and we can go on for a week and still not exhaust. So, we'll have to bring this session to a close. I'm sorry if there are some disappointed raising hands. And gentlemen, thank you very much for a very enriching discussion indeed. Very insightful. Thank you all.
Well, thank you to our panelists for that rich and informative session. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give them a round of applause? May I now request Mr. Ramesh, our moderator, to kindly present a memento to each of the panelists. all to kindly step forward for it, please. You can step a little forward. Yes. Yes, perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly give us a moment. We are getting set for the fireside chat. Well, as global trade evolves rapidly, MSMEs face both new challenges and exciting opportunities. From shifting supply chains to digital transformation and changing regulations, adapting is more crucial than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening's Fireside Chat will focus on how MSMEs can successfully navigate through these emerging trade trends. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us for the Fireside Chat is Mr. Ajay Srivastava, founder, Global Trade Research Initiative. Please give him a round of applause as he steps on stage. And in conversation with Ms. Aarti Krishnan, consulting editor, The Hindu Businessline. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Good evening to all of you. So the previous session was very informative on the exciting things that are happening in the defense technology sector after Operation Sindoor. And we also discussed a lot of micro issues that these manufacturers are facing with respect to exports and defense procurement. From this very micro worm's eye view topic, we are going to just go to 36,000 feet and talk about a very macro topic, but a topic that should be top of all MSMEs' minds. That is, this is literally something that is giving MSMEs and other industrial outfits in India sleepless nights, including journalists. I mean, we wake up all night looking for what Trump has tweeted yesterday night, and we report that very faithfully. Next day, the exact opposite of that has come out. So, so I have with me Mr. Ajay Srivastava. He earlier worked in the Commerce Ministry as Additional Director General of Foreign Trade. And he was actually an active member in the negotiations, trade negotiations between India and the ASEAN, Japan, Korea, etc. The FTA negotiations he's been a participant in. In 2022, he has taken VRS from the government and he set up this think tank in Delhi called Global Trade Research Initiative, GTRI. And he has been a regular columnist with us, and he is also our go-to person whenever we have policy doubts on foreign trade. So today, mostly we will be talking about how this Trump tariffs are evolving, how FTAs are evolving, and the impact that it could have on Indian exports. Also, a few macro questions about how the exports themselves are evolving, right? So, yeah. So the first question is, let us make it a little lighter than the previous session. So, how seriously should we take this tweeting by presidents, etc.? Because there are trade teams of both countries actually negotiating with each other, right? So the negotiations must be pursuing a certain course. Now, suppose the leader of the country actually tweets something. Does that carry any validity at all?
Of course, they carry so much validity that if I have to quote one data, May 25 data, America's imports from China declined by 45% straight. It's all because of the tweets. America has not issued any orders so far.
Right.
China has not issued anything.
Right.
It's just his tweets are converted into orders later on. Everything is reflected to the tweets.
Okay.
So real impact on world trade is happening because of Trump tweets.
Yeah.
And don't ask me positive or negative right now.
We all know what it is. So July 8th is the deadline, right, that he has set for us. And by July 8th, if you are not able to come to a deal, actually the 26% reciprocal tariff will apply on all imports from India, right? That is the situation. Now we have a concessional tariff of 10%. So on July 8th, if we are actually able to come up with a trade deal, what will happen? If we are not able to do it, what is going to happen?
So let's understand how the FTAs are negotiated in the first place. In the FTA, two partners, say India or US, they generally cut their import tariffs on goods from each other. And we call import tariffs as MFN import tariffs. These are the import duties levied by a country. So in India's case, India will be reducing its MFN tariffs for goods from the USA. But what US will be doing? US will not be cutting its MFN tariffs at all. They will all remain present. What it will do is that it created a bogey of country-specific tariffs on April 2,
right,
which it postponed till July 8, 90-day postponed. It says if you do an agreement with us, please us, with a lot of goodies and tariff cuts, then we may think of not imposing that 26%, but you will not get full 26% waiver. Rather, we will impose 10% on you. So if you don't have a deal, then 26% plus MFN tariffs will be imposed on you. If you have a deal, then 10% plus MFN will be imposed on you. So it's totally unequal deal. It's not only with India. US has done the first deal with UK, and there the same pattern was followed. UK cut its import tariffs, MFN tariffs. US did not.
Okay.
So that's what is a possibility.
So in a deal, there should always be give and take, right? If I give some concession, I should get some concession. But with the US, this is not happening with the UK deal, right? So I've read one of your columns where you've argued that India should not give up too much in its tariff negotiations, and it should actually, it can walk away from the deal also if necessary. Is that your view?
Of course. For example, we have been negotiating with the European Union since 2007. We could not reach a common understanding. That's why deal is not there. So these are trade deals. These are not charity, one-sided charity. If there is a balance, I enter into a deal. If there is no balance, we go home. Nobody is bombing each other. These are mere trade deals.
No, with Trump, we don't know, right?
Okay. That we have yet to see. I mean, on July 9, he may start bombing some countries.
Right. So, suppose we end up with this bad situation of 26% tariff, okay, on top of MFN. So, which are the industries do you think will be most affected in terms of exports in that situation?
So if there is no deal, then we have to assume that Trump will be imposing 26% tariffs. You know, the possibility of that, to me, it looks very remote. Why? Because country-specific tariffs were imposed on 57 countries. And so far, US could do a deal only with UK. India is just the second one. What about 55 other countries? So if he imposes tariffs only on India and not on 55, it will look very odd. I think that much they will understand, that there should be a uniform decision. So even if there is no deal, he may shout and all those things are there. But I don't think any action will be there.
Especially 26%.
But Trump being Trump, you never know.
Okay. Okay. So, from India's side, what are some of the products on which we can actually lower tariffs without hurting imports, and what are the things where we should absolutely not give in, based on your study of the competitiveness of different sectors?
So we have functional FTAs with ASEAN, Japan, South Korea for almost 15 years, and we have allowed zero tariffs. We are receiving zero tariff imports from all these 3 countries and regions for the past 15 years. All the industrial goods except automobiles. So if I talk about US exports to India, 90% of their exports, they are industrial goods except automobiles. India can do the tariffs zero immediately from day one without losing any breath over this.
Yeah.
There is no tension over this. India can do that. But US wants agriculture.
Yeah.
They want us to open wheat, rice, so many other things they want. So that's where the problem is.
Right. So you're saying this because I think goods manufactured in the US are actually quite expensive, and even if the automobiles, etc., come into India, perhaps the market for them is not that large.
In fact, Aarti, when I looked at what we import from US, I thought I am looking at the wrong list. So 60% of what comes into India from US is petroleum crude, LNG, some petroleum products, waste paper, waste scrap, copper scrap, and so many such things. They account for 60%. So US, and of course, US supplies Boeings to us, it supplies semiconductors, it supplies very high-tech goods also. But they are 30 to 40% of the exports. US nearly is absent from the industrial goods, where China excels. So we don't have anything to fear. What US produces high-tech like semiconductor, we need them, but tariffs are already zero. So this FTA will not help US in exporting those goods more. Already there is a zero tariff. So industrial goods, they are not, they will not be able to hurt us ever.
Right, right. So there is this other fear, right? This talks with China are still going on, US and China. And of course, the tariffs discussed have ranged from some 200% to down to 10%. So it's very fluid still. So there is a very overarching fear in Indian industry that if US imposes very high tariffs on Chinese imports, then these Chinese goods, the excess capacity will lead to dumping across all other countries. So do you think India also is actually susceptible to this threat? And what are the kind of industries and MSMEs which should be worried about this or should safeguard about this?
So I'll give you an example through the data. Again, May 25 data, that's the latest available for us. And so when we look at Chinese data, their exports to US has come down by 45%. And when they produce goods and they are not going to the major market, they will of course shift here and there. So their exports consecutively, they to European Union increased by 12%, to India by 12%, to ASEAN by 15%. And when we look at Indian data, India's import, global imports increased only by 1.2%, but our imports of machinery and electronics increased by about 25%. Most of these are coming from China, but I don't call them dumping. If my electronic imports are coming, most of them, they are going into making assembly of, say, smartphones, which are being exported here and there, mostly to US only. Some part of organic chemicals, we may call it dumping, but others we are using for good.
So we also recently signed a UK FTA, and very quickly actually India entered into deal with UK. So what are the implications of that deal for domestic industry, for MSMEs?
So UK deal details have not been made public so far. All we know is whatever has been told by the UK side. So for the first time, India opened its automobiles to any country. So far in our FTAs, we have meticulously not opened the automobile sector. So why that's a problem? As I say, opening of automobile is not such a big problem, but FTAs are about balance. If I'm getting $100, I will be giving you $100. But more than half of my goods, they already enter UK at zero MFN tariffs. They won't gain from the FTA. They have not allowed, they have not committed to any visas for our professionals, short-term visas, work visas, we call them Mode 4 visas. So the balance is still in their side. And when we are opening automobile, the problem is that automobile constitutes about 1/3 to half of India's manufacturing GDP.
Okay.
It supports 4 crore jobs. We must count the jobs in the garage across the streets of our country. And if I have opened for UK, soon we'll be opening for Europe and America, of course, they're asking for it. And already we started getting feelers from Japan and South Korea, why you're not giving to us. So once we open, we have changed the direction. And then a lot of automobiles will be coming. And with this, you know, I 2 days back, one announcement of Delhi government was there. I think it was central government announcement. It says that more than 15-year-old cars will not be allowed on Delhi roads. So about 18 million vehicles are there.
80 million?
18 million vehicles, 4-wheelers are there, and 45 million 2-wheelers are there. That means auto industry will have bonanza, and government collects more than 50% tax from automobiles, each automobiles. Government will also have tax bonanza. So FTA opening may be replacing some of the domestic cars here in a big way suddenly. So many decisions are being taken.
Right. So yeah, I mean, that is an important point, right? If we give some concessions to the US and UK, there is a good chance that all other countries also will pile on to us and ask us for the same concessions. But do we have to give in that case, or can we negotiate bilateral treaties?
So Aarti, you know, about many years back when we were almost final in our agreement with the European Union, and we were discussing cars and it was coming in the newspapers, then we received letters from the governments of South Korea and Japan that we are manufacturing, invested billions of dollars in automaking in your country. Why not this? So why I am slightly conservative about these big sectors is that, you know, in Japan, tariffs are less than 5% on automobiles, but more than 90% automobiles running on Japanese roads are Japanese made only. Same with Korea. So they control not through tariff but non-tariff barriers, the imports. We control through the tariffs only. And one example is Australian example. Australia in 1980s, they had 10 car makers, and 90% of the cars on Australian roads, they were locally made. And the tariff was high at 45%. Then they got the idea, no, tariff 45%, we are developed countries, very high, let's remove it. So over the course of next 10 years, they cut the tariff from 45% to 5%. All the 10 automakers disappeared. Now every single car on Australian road is imported. Australian government is after automakers to come set shop again, offering many incentives, but once gone, it's very difficult to come back. So that's how sensitive it is, and we have to think deep.
Right. So two industries that have a lot of players in Coimbatore are textiles and engineering. So do you have anything specifically to say about how these industries will be impacted by these ongoing tariff negotiations?
So textiles and apparels is one industry where all the developed countries, they have set very high tariffs, high import tariffs. Their general tariffs are 0 to 2%, but on labor-intensive goods, like half of the engineering goods, and almost all textiles and apparel, they range between, say, 8% to 20%, some go up to 38, 40% also. So good thing about the FTA with, say, UK or Europe or America will be, not America, sorry, America is not doing anything.
It's not into FTA.
With UK and Europe will be that these tariffs will hopefully come to zero. UK has agreed for zero tariffs for these.
Okay.
So there will be a big push for exports from these sectors under those FTAs.
Right. So whenever there is talk of this US or anybody imposing large tariffs on China, immediately there is a lot of excitement about China +1 and how India can actually jump into that gap and capitalize on that opportunity. But has that actually happened in any sector? I mean, in textiles, we are told that Bangladesh has captured that opportunity, but not India. So can you just elaborate on that?
So, Aarti, I'll tell this in a different way. Suppose I am a Chinese investor and I make world-class solar panels. And I love India and I want to set up manufacturing unit for solar panels, and I want to start from scratch. That is, I want to start from the silica sand. Now, when I start from silica sand, I refine it, make into say quartz, then polysilicon, then wafers, then refining of the wafers, and then I make solar cells and then make solar panels. If I start from there, I assume I have all the technology. Then, because I'm making in India, my cost disability will be 70%. You know 70%. Why? You know why, all these factors. We know the same factors, you know, I don't need to tell it. If he says, okay, 70% I'll go bankrupt, even if I love India, I cannot go bankrupt. He says if he wants to start from polysilicon stage, not from silica stage, the cost disability is 45%. If he starts from wafer stage, cost disability is 30%. Okay. No PLI can support this much.
Okay.
So, if he starts from solar cell, once you have solar cell, you have nothing to do. It's all mechanical. You connect solar cells and put a frame, it becomes solar panel. So that's what people in India are doing, that they are importing solar cells from China and Vietnam and here and there, and putting a frame and making solar panels and using in India and exporting here and there. So China plus one, our China plus one is dependent on China, unfortunately. For truly becoming alternative of China, we have to cut cost of making things in India. And for that, fundamental reforms are needed. We don't have time to discuss those.
Okay, okay. Yeah, are there any closing remarks you would like to make? Because we are sure.
Any questions from?
Yeah, we can probably take a couple of questions from the audience. Are there any questions?
No questions.
I can't see any. Actually, it's quite dark in the back. So
Check. If you have a question, we would request you to kindly stand. Yes. So we have a question.
Yeah.
I am standing. Thanks, Ajay. That was quite insightful with a lot of instances. This is Kavita from Deloitte.
Ma'am, you're not audible. Could you please keep the mic closer to your, to the mouth?
Thanks, Ajay. That was very informative and insightful. This is Kavita from Deloitte. My question is, what is your view when we are freeing up trade, right? Its impact on sustainability and environment. And there are a lot of automobiles coming in. We are talking about the number of cars. How are you viewing it, basically?
Yeah, she's asking if you free up trade, for example, you open up import of cars, what will be the impact on sustainability and the environment?
So we have to focus on consumption. That formula is very clear in the developed countries. People rarely use private cars, they use public transport. Unless our public transport increases, there are little options before people to apply. You will add something?
No, I don't have any. So you're basically saying that if you want to promote consumption, you can't have sustainability. The two are sort of mutually exclusive.
Really, you say if you must all have read this passage. It moves around in WhatsApp very often. If your river is very clean, you are either not a developed country. You are very backward country, or you are super developed country. If you are developing country, your river will be very dirty. So only developed countries can afford clean rivers, or totally undeveloped people away from civilization.
Right.
Develop that.
Right. Thank you. So I think I don't see any other questions.
Do we have any more questions? Yes.
Hello. Good evening. Myself, Hariharan from Hari Global Solutions. So within the next 5 years, where do you see Indo-European trade relations going, given the current agreements and all between India and France and other European countries?
European Union is a customs union. So different countries cannot have different separate free trade agreements with India. Everybody has to come together. That's why they are coming together, all 27 of them, and having one FTA. So we are in very advanced stage of negotiations, and leaders are promising us to deliver that in by this year end.
Thank you.
You have a question? Yeah.
So he has a question.
Ajayji, I have a question on, we have been talking about India-US trade, India-UK FTA, Japan, South Korea, ASEAN. Where is the WTO in all this? Are we seeing the collapse of multilateralism, and are we getting into bilateral trade agreements? Is the era of multilateral trade agreements over? And where does this leave the RCEP and similar multilateral trade bodies, agreements? Will it still continue to work? And what is the fate of the WTO?
Great. I'm very, very happy you're asking this question. So, Raghuveer ji, if we look in the past 25 to 30 years, nothing happened at the WTO. Doha round was launched in 2001. 2013, they say they passed one small trade facilitation agreement, but it was not tangible agreement. So for me, after launch of the WTO, start of the WTO in January 1995, only one or two plurilateral agreements have been signed, but nothing tangible has happened in the WTO. Why? I don't blame Trump. The malaise started much before. Why? The import tariffs world over, the average was more than 25%. India's tariffs were, of course, average was more than 100% up to 1980s to 85s. It was through the sheer negotiating skills and focus of the GATT. GATT was the precursor of the WTO, that we could bring down the tariffs of almost all the WTO members to a level. Why? Because WTO was dealing with only tariff cuts. And that was in pre-WTO era. In WTO, they took upon themselves almost all the subjects. They were not even directly connected to the trade. For example, sustainability, environment, and TRIPS, intellectual property rights, and they want to include many more now. So there are separate agencies for dealing those things. But they have, what the members did is, in their, of course, own selfish interest, is that they made the agenda they made the number of subjects WTO was to deal very heavy. Number of subjects enlarged. And then countries could never agree to each other. When tariff cuts were there, everybody was talking on one language, and a lot of focus was there, and more time was devoted only to one topic, tariff cuts, and that's why we could see the tariff cuts all across the globe. Now, because 100 subjects are there, no progress is there. This will continue, Trump or no Trump, unless we trim the WTO agenda to some core project. That's my take.
So is the WTO dead officially, or is it functioning? What is it?
So, okay. So, WTO dispute settlement is dead. Panel stage is dead because Trump has not authorized the empanelment of its members at the panel stage. So, dispute settlement, you go take up your case. If case is for you or against you, there is no high court. We call it panel. But the rest of the WTO is implementing the rules of the game. So whatever has been negotiated in the WTO, for example, tariffs, whole of the world's tariffs except American tariffs, they conform to the WTO. Whatever we talk about the FTAs, the preferential trade flowing through the FTAs is less than 20% of the world trade. 80% of world trade still flows with the WTO defined tariffs. So the business is quietly happening with the tariffs defined by WTO in 1995. So that work closed in 1995. So current world trade, 80% of the world trade is flowing through that 1995 tariffs. After that, nothing has happened. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I am Ramji. I have a doubt. This de-dollarization is something which is going on for the last so many months. And today we have, as Mr. Raghuveer was telling, that bilateralism and all. But I find that more and more transactions have been happening between India and Russia and India and other such countries in rupee or ruble mode. So with Trump coming so much pressurizing the various countries who want to have a bilateral trade, how do you think the de-dollarization will be halted, or do you think it will still continue and the global, the economy is going to change in spite of the pressure put on by President Trump?
So while America, of course, is gaining because dollar is a reserve currency, but for whole of the world, it's a medium of exchange. The problem is that America has made this medium of exchange, they have weaponized it, which means when we trade, two countries trade, the dollars or pounds, they flow through that SWIFT, the pipeline through which international trade happens, in dollars they flow. So America, if they are at a war with, say, Iran or Russia, they will not allow those countries to use the SWIFT channel. So what those countries will do? They will go to other channels. China has started local currency trading, and ruble is trading there, yuan is trading there, some part of the Saudi riyal is also trading there. India is also planning, but India's planning is at the paper stage only. So gradually people are moving, but not because they don't like dollar, but because US is creating such situations by weaponizing it that people have to move to other currencies.
Right, I think we are out of time, so thank you so much. Thank you for the questions also.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Mr. Srivastava and Ms. Krishnan, for all the insightful exchange. May I now request Ms. Aarti Krishnan to present a memento to our speaker, Mr. Ajay Srivastava, as a token of our appreciation and gratitude. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be moving forward with our next panel discussion. So kindly give us a moment to just set it up for us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are all here with us. Yes? Recent years have seen global trade repeatedly disrupted by geopolitical tensions, by supply chain shocks, and regulatory changes. These disruptions challenge businesses to adapt quickly, manage risks, and find new ways to ensure continuity. This panel will discuss about mitigating global headwinds and leveraging emerging opportunities. And now I would like to invite the experts on stage. Our moderator for this panel discussion is Ms. Sindhu Hariharan, Chief of Bureau, Chennai, the Hindu Businessline. Our panelists for this session are Mr. Sasikumar Gendam, the President of Electronics Industries Association of India. Welcome, sir. Mr. Kumar Duraisamy, CEO of Eastern Global Clothing and Joint Secretary of Tirupur Exporters Association. Mr. Ramesh M, Managing Director, Alpha Craft. Mr. Kanishka Armugam, Co-Chief Executive, Eki Pumps. So the next 45 minutes are yours.
So I think we stand in between you and dinner, so we'll make it as engaging and interesting for all of you. I'm sure the panelists also want that. So, so we just heard from our expert about how the global trade world is changing. I mean, I was talking to a CEO recently. He was telling me about how companies are now faced with all kind of volatilities all at once attacking them. You know, there are trade wars, there are real wars, and all of this is not just disturbing trade relationships between countries, but also for companies, this translates to supply chain disruptions, raw material costs may be rising, and I'm sure there are a lot of other practical ways in which these things are impacting businesses. And it's not just that. I mean, every country is wanting to get very protectionist right now. So, you know, today you're working on your exports in a certain way, and tomorrow you'll have to keep track of how things are changing. So with all this, you know, as the background, I'd like to straight away get into the panel. Let me just quickly tell you about what sort of a panel we have today. So we have Mr. Sasikumar from the Electronics Industries Association. And, you know, electronics is one sector that has emerged as a powerhouse of exports for India recently. And there have been a lot of benefits for the country, but I'm sure there are also challenges ahead because of the kind of countries we depend on for the components. And then we have Mr. Kumar from the Tirupur Exporters Association and the CEO of Eastern Global Clothing. So textiles, I mean, we've also touched upon that earlier about how it has seen some green shoots recently, be it the UK FTA, sir, or be it the, you know, some crisis with Bangladesh that brought some gains to India. Then Mr. Ramesh from Alpha Craft, I mean, he told me that he has a lot of practical insights to share about how the Alpha Craft, I'm sure all of you know, is the exporter of aluminum castings to a lot of leading names in the US and Europe. So he has a finger on the pulse of what it means actually today, what are the US and Europe customers seeking and how it's changing his business. And Mr. Kanishka of Eki Pumps, I mean, you know the close relationship that the company has with the German economy, and you know he's going to be talking about how their exports to over 25 countries, how it's set to change with all the changes coming in. So let me just start off, maybe one by one, we could just start with you, Mr. Sasikumar. How do you see all these disruptions to your sector or in general? How do you see this changing things?
First and foremost, good evening, everyone, and thank you, the Hindu Businessline, and specifically Sindhu, for inviting me here, and Mr. Raghuvir as well. If I have to just say in one sentence, I think these trade disruptions, whatever is happening, it's definitely for positive for India when it comes specifically to our sector, which is electronics. Things are moving. I mean, as we all see, China plus one strategy, our previous speakers, they mentioned China plus one strategy cannot be without China. That's a fact, certainly, but the governments are addressing these challenges. But I think overall, if you see in this specific sector of electronics, this is a very good thing that has happened overall, that there is this disruption, so which means things are moving towards India. It started to move already since 2015 with the introduction of this certain schemes and all that. But I think after the Trump tweets or whatever we call it, but I think things are accelerating even more. So therefore, I see this as a positive subject.
Right, so but he's been, President Trump in specific has been talking about how they need to keep electronics manufacturing within the country, especially of large brands like Apple. So how do you see that impacting? Can they not depend on India and still run their consumer economy?
See, I think every country has been, going through this process of offshoring, and they spoke about nearshoring, which is Mexico, in terms of, in case of US. But then now they're talking about, inshoring or, in their own countries and all that. But certainly, I brought up factories in the US. So I can tell you that it is not going to be that easy that they're going to have these kind of products, high-tech products, to be made in the US. If the product itself costs $1,200, I think the labor cost itself would be like $1,500. So where is the consumers? So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Mr. Kumar, how do you see the recent UK FTA or any other the trade talks that are going on? How do you see that for the textile sector in specific? What's happening?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity, and on behalf of Tirupur Exporters Association, I wish everyone here a great MSME day. And over to your question, as far as the current scenario is concerned, with the geopolitical moves and polarization is happening between two bigger powers, and India being neutral with everyone, we see very positive things coming to India. And post-COVID also has given us a lot of opportunities. There is a big change in the consumer mentality. Low-cost retailers are doing well as far as our business is concerned. And the brands are not doing well, but they are coming up with new tactics and new systems. And they are also, even the bigger brands are introducing economy lines, which is a clear picture that there is a change in the consumer mentality. And this brings a lot of favor to India, particularly the political disruption in Bangladesh. And moreover, apart from the political disruption, they are going to lose their free trade status, GSP status in another 2 years' time. So all the bigger retailers are already started exploring, or they are coming back, who left Tirupur or India 15 years back, they are started exploring the opportunities, and they are started locating the factories, and the initial work has already started, and a few of the retailers are already shifted their business to India. As far as the UK is concerned, UK is one of our major market, and for sure the UK business will also get a larger heap. And as far as the export is concerned, we have record numbers. This end March 2025, we crossed 44,747 crores, which we are hovering for the last 7-8 years between 35 to 37,000 crores. Comparing to that, we are contributing about 68% of the Indian knitwear exports, which is again shows a very clear picture that it is a positive sign for us.
Right. So where are the opportunities coming from? Any specific places where you see, since you say that it's been largely positive? Which countries?
See, basically, people want to de-risk China. And apart from that, as I said that post-COVID, there is a lot of change in the Western economies. They want to do a lot of business with India. And India being their favorite place, we are getting most of the business from US as well as Europe, and UK also keep on increasing.
Right, right. Mr. Ramesh, how do you see the geopolitical changes or the trade tariff uncertainty for your business, or generally in manufacturing in general?
Can you hear me? Okay. I cannot vouch for, advocate for the entire manufacturing industry. I have my own aluminum foundry. We make automotive parts for many cars around the world. Okay, so I'm going to contradict what Mr. Ajay Srivastava said and what Sashikumar said. China plus one can be without China, at least for me. Okay, so we make parts, build custom parts, custom built parts. Okay, so I don't depend on China for anything. Absolutely. Not the equipment, not the raw material. I don't need the quality stuff, nothing. I started buying all equipments, Indian equipments, almost about 10 years ago. I've been quite successful, although it was not easy initially. So I've been managing with it, and we are able to supply to top niche automotive companies around the world. Okay, we don't depend on them. Okay, it could be the wars could be disruptive. We have a lot of problems because sometimes the ship is not sailing immediately; it is taking longer. Sometimes they want to sail through Cape Town, and we have issues like that. Okay, but as far as the tariff is concerned, it could be beneficial for us because I find India has got the lowest tariff compared to Vietnam, China. They are my competitors. Okay, and there's one competitor in the world who is cheaper than India is Brazil. They don't have humongous capacity like India or China has. But they can build it overnight. It's not a problem. Okay, they are the only people because, and they are also close to United States.
Right.
That could serve the purpose for them, and that could be. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not easy to develop the parts what we are developing overnight. And they have already, the companies in the US have invested in my company, AlphaCraft, for the toolings and other things. And it's not going to be easy unless those costs are recovered. They wouldn't like to invest on another supplier elsewhere. Okay, so I feel looks good.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were talking about some of the supply chain disruptions. I mean, the ports and transport of goods and all that. So how do you see that? Is there any hindrance that you're facing with the recent wars that happened, be it the shipping and all that?
It has not started affecting yet. Ukraine and Russia war did not affect.
Okay.
Okay. But this could be a problem. Okay. But fortunately, they announced ceasefire quite fast. Okay. So maybe we'll never know. But that could have been disruptive. The Strait of Hormuz, if they had closed it,
right,
we'd have been in deep trouble. The logistic cost of our shipments could have been very high.
Right.
And that is okay. Anyway, my customer is paying. But the time taken to go around Africa could be more. And then naturally my deliveries are delayed and I have to produce earlier and send it across. My working capital requirement will go up enormously. Okay. So it has not affected so far.
Right.
Hope they stay put the way they are right now. Okay.
Right, sir. Thanks. Yeah. So, Mr. Kanishka, how do you see all of these things changing? Because India-EU trade talks are going on. There is a free trade agreement expected. So, some of your markets, most of your markets are in the European space. So, how do you see that?
Hi, good evening. It's wrong. Hi, good evening. So, first of all, I'm not a big fan of tariffs, right? So, when you have tariffs, I think it prohibits companies to be globally competitive. I think it's kind of a protection ecosystem. So I think I'm not a big fan of tariffs. But that said, I think India as a country, we have to do a lot in being globally competitive. A lot of R&D investments and innovation. In terms of global trade wars, I think it's good for the defense industry. I was in Paris Defense Show last week, and also at the Oxford University, where my alma mater, and the world is looking at India, So, but as Mr. Sundaram said earlier, we couldn't see really Indian companies represent there, right? So it's mostly Korean, Chinese companies. Even the Indian companies that did was probably, China stuff inside. So, the global tariffs has opened up enormous opportunities for India. But India has to do a lot of being globally competitive, innovation, R&D and stuff. So that's my thought. But that being said, I think there's a lot of positive things happening. I think just this evening I had a customer shipping all his toolings from China to India. So I think these are all interesting stuff that's happening. But there's a lot of positive and a lot of challenges as well.
So next, I'd just like to check on how has the supply chain moved away from China at all due to the recent changes? I mean, As Mr. Ramesh was also saying, there are other countries like Vietnam and others who are always considered as competitors to India in the manufacturing space. So with their tariffs being higher than that of India, do we see any sort of diversification or shifting of production happening in the electronics? Perhaps you can tell us, is there anything on the ground happening, and how can MSMEs capitalize on this?
Yeah, sure. See, as I mentioned earlier, 2015 was the very defining moment for electronics, when we introduced first, I mean, you don't like tariffs, but don't like BCDs, that's fine, but then it's a way to start. I think that's what we did, where, we had a BCDs on products coming out from China or elsewhere. So that brought in many companies to come and produce locally. I think that was the first defining moment with the PLI scheme at that particular time. Comparing Vietnam or India, I would say that, India is really a big domestic market, especially for electronics, we are such a big domestic market. I mean, today you don't see anybody without a phone, like them, maybe they have 2, 3 with them. So therefore, it gave us that big advantage of having locally made and supplying locally. So that spurred, 2020 when the COVID came, I think that was the second wave, where literally, things had to be made locally, be it from medical devices to rest of it and all of that. But then later, now the 2024-25, the additional schemes of PLIs and specs, and now it's called ECMS, whatnot. So all of them have come. We had the stick, but then now we have the carrot. So it has taken us 10 years to come over there. Specifically, we have been focusing mainly on assembly. Our previous speakers from the first panel mentioned, we are always fighting for this $10, $15. But unfortunately, that's the truth, because India is a country of 1.4 billion people, so you need to feed everybody. So which means manufacturing has to be there. You just can't just keep designing and designing, manufacturing has to happen too. So moving from assembly in India, which started way back in 2015, we have at least started focusing now, and we already start manufacturing components also in India. But may not go to the level that we want to do. But I think that gives us the biggest runway, where we could be moving from, say, 20% value add today, all the way up to 40% value add within the next 3 to 4 years. Government policies have been set. I think it's all there. There is really high volume now. And this trade disruptions, as I mentioned earlier, is also a very positive thing for us, because there is much more for exports beyond domestic consumption. So that is the third thing. And where MSMEs could specifically participate in this whole growth sector, I don't think MSMEs should really try to compete with the biggies, on the assembly part of it. Certainly no, because they're all fighting for this $10, $15 or $5, whatever, but it comes in volume. I mean, again, electronics industry, I literally define this EMS is nothing but not just electronics manufacturing services. It is also an industry where I call it earning money slowly. I mean, this is an industry where you get really small money, but it multiplies with volume. I think that's where you get really the value. So we don't have to fight with the large companies, but I think MSMEs can really focus on very niche areas, when it comes to components. There are really niche components, even within electronics, in a product, $300, $100, but there are still very niche components. Not made in India, could be made in India. I mean, can you believe a frying pan coming from China? So that's a reality today. But, it's not that we cannot do, but I think we'll have to take that step forward. Policies are in the right direction. There has to be certain anchoring units. I think in association like ours or others like, Tetra and all the Taiwanese associations or Japanese associations should also be working together. And the biggest way that I see possibility for MSMEs to participate in this real decadal opportunity is by joint ventures with global organizations. I mean, we just don't have to start all from scratch because there's no time. And but then JVs would be one big option that I would say that companies should look at.
Right. Have you already seen some MSMEs taking such proactive steps and trying to make these niche components? Maybe, it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, some of the components, yes, they have been focusing on, like making a very niche, not just for the phones, but also for, for IT hardware, telecom devices, not just electromechanical components, but beyond that. So there are organizations, within our own membership, so that have taken forward. some of them, for example, like making textiles, have taken a leap to make semiconductors. Clearly. I mean, it is possible. It's not that, one clear example, Nokia themselves, they were making rubber boots and toilet papers. A company would change the whole world with phones.
Right.
So similarly, I think that is also a direction, that companies are looking at, moving from totally an area which is not their core expertise, but they're trying to acquire core expertise with this kind of joint ventures.
Got it, right, thanks. Mr. Kumar, so how is the textile industry preparing for what is to come? You already started saying the numbers are showing already a rise in exports, and the geopolitical situation as well as the trade changes show that there is more to come. So how are you preparing in terms of technology or scaling up financing? What would be your advice to MSMEs?
Yeah, of course, the factories are graduating. For example, 100 machine factories are graduating to 200 machines, and 200 machine factories are graduating to 400 machines, and so on and so forth. And again, new technology, new machines which can replace more labors, all those technology upgradation are happening in a fast pace, and a lot of things like we are now, the last 5 years we are concentrating on man-made fibers, which is going to be at least 20 or 25% of our production in the next 3 years will be man-made fibers, and those kind of initiatives are in pipeline. And our joint ventures from Korean and Taiwanese companies are in pipeline. Already we have seen footwear companies have already come in the other districts of Tamil Nadu, and next week or in a fortnight time there is a big delegate coming from Taiwan and Korea, and we'll be having a 2-day summit, and they are looking for the opportunities to start their manufacturing setup here on a joint venture basis. So a lot of things are happening, and more particularly the entire world is talking about environmental and social governance, and we are proud to say Tamil Nadu is one of the state where you can relate any SDG goals related to the requirement global. And if you name Tirupur and Coimbatore for that matter, on the any 17 goals you can at least relate to 12 or 13 goals you can relate, and Tirupur we can proudly say that for the entire world that we are globally a sustainable sourcing destination as of now, and there are many other activities based on the sustainable production are also happening on the other side. So in all spheres we are taking this industry to the next level.
Right. And do you see this benefiting more the larger companies, sir, or some mid-sized companies also seeing the gains of these changes?
See, it is about the mindset of the people. You know about the Tirupur, if you take the Tirupur's history, it is a farming community turned into an entrepreneurial community. There is no big or small companies earlier. So it is about who uses the opportunities, who looks the global perspective, and who looks into the opportunities for the next 5 years, what is going to be the world traveling on the other way. These are all the things as graduated many companies into corporates. But for example, Tirupur, if I can say that 2,500 exporters and 20,000 standalone units are there. All are MSMEs. 95% of these units are MSMEs, and only 5% will be on a corporate structure. Of the 44,000 crores I mentioned, 20,000 crores of business are done by only 100 companies. The rest of 2,400 exporters shares the 27,000 crores or whatsoever. So these 27,000 crores of exports are these companies who shares this 2,400 exporters. We are in a process of like scaling them up and sensitizing them about the new technologies and the market awareness and this sustainable goals and all these things.
Right.
So that is the way forward.
Sure. Right. So, Mr. Ramesh, I mean, you said that as far as your businesses is concerned, you've managed to completely not depend on China when it comes to the large equipments or, so how is your supply chain today? And, you know, when you buy from MSMEs, what is the issues that you're facing, or what is the benefits that you're seeing today?
Can
Can you repeat it? I didn't understand.
No, just trying to check that you said that you're not dependent on China for either your equipment or for your manufacturing. So what is your supply chain today like? Where do you
for the equipments?
Yes, for the equipments, for the any parts that you also may need for
There are quite a few alternatives for us. We can buy from Taiwan, we can buy from China, Korea. We have other this thing. Okay, so, but fortunately, we buy.
Do you buy from India? I'm trying to understand if what is the kind of.
Unfortunately, in my industry, India do not have this equipment manufactured here. There was a Government of India company, HMT, which was doing it some time back. Nobody's there right now. Okay, so it's quite a negative thing, but this is how it is, okay? But many of these cases, see, I can say that opportunities for MSMEs are very high, but all the time I find that they lack certain knowledge in various other areas, so they are not able to capitalize on the opportunities. This is what is happening, okay? It's not about what you can manufacture. They boast about the kind of technology, what they have, whatever they can do. They will say, I can develop anything. Okay, that's fine. Can you continuously do it? This is what is the problem, okay? We have a problem like we invest on equipments which will fetch us money back. But if you want to be there in the international market, if you want to have better bottom line, it has to be a little different. You have to invest on technology. Okay, that's not happening. One reason being, I wouldn't blame just the entrepreneurs. I would also blame the funding organizations like banks and others, okay? They don't fund technology. They fund only the equipments because you have to show the balance sheet. You have to give the future balance sheet and past balance sheet. But still, they will give based on the past. They never care about the future, okay? Then they are in trouble, okay? So if you want to invest on a simulation software, for example, or on a high-end inspection equipment, but it cannot be documented. You cannot earn money directly out of it. It fetches indirect one, okay? So this is where they are in trouble. And unfortunately, most of the MSMEs who are below the level of 30 to 20 crores, they lack knowledge on finance. Okay, they don't know how to handle finance, okay? They don't know what is a reserve fund. They don't know what is working capital. But whatever money comes to the same account, they use it. They either buy raw material or if it is not required immediately, they buy a car, okay? This is what happens, okay? This has to be changed, okay? How to teach them how to, maybe some of the industrial organizations have to help them, or the banks themselves can teach them about finance, okay? I've been talking about it in many various platforms, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Maybe ignorance is bliss for the other people, not for themselves, okay?
Right. But what would you ask MSMEs to kind of do today to capitalize on the opportunities that are set to come as India becomes starts attracting more global attention?
You know what happens is if you want to export to the United States, it takes about 50 days for my goods to reach there. Okay? And then they keep stock for 30 days or 60 days. And when they start using it, after they use it, then they take another 60 days to release my payment. 180 days. How many MSMEs can afford to do this? And how many banks will accept this, first of all? This is what export is all about. And then the bankers will say, get LC from them. They don't care a damn. There's one person who's using SAP, and he finalizes the order. He negotiates, he finalizes the order. He's the one who's also checking the schedule, whether it's been complied or not. And then he's the one who's also releasing the funds automatically. Okay, it's done automatically. If there's any issue, he can do it immediately. Okay, one person does it. If you ask him to release LC, and banks are all asking for LC, I'm talking about the people who are less than 20, 30 crores. I have crossed the stage. Nobody asked me. Okay, so if I say that it has been sent, they don't ask me. Okay, but they are being asked to submit because they are scared that this money will not come. Okay, so these are the factors which are really hurting them. Okay, so they no funds and they have not invested on technology. And for example, for high-end automotive, for Aston Martin, even for a chassis part, okay, you have to have a clean environment. It has to be cleaned by, you have to wash it with ultrasonic cleaning machine. Ultrasonic cleaning machine is expensive, but you cannot charge for this portion, okay, this process. Okay, but you should be able to still have the margin. You'll get the margin, you should know how to make your profits, okay. This is where we fail, okay. They say, no, he's not giving, so I won't invest, okay. And to be frank, if you know that the customers also are ignorant in certain areas, add that portion and get this out there, okay. This is how we have to manage, okay. But I cannot openly say that do this, okay. So I can only say manage yourselves, okay. This is where we have problem. I strongly feel MSMEs are very, very dynamic here in the country, but they need support, quite a lot of support from the government, from the organizations, everybody.
Right, sir. Thanks for those anecdotes also. So Kanishka, how do you see the opportunities for the MSMEs, and do you see more positives, or do you see that there are some challenges? How can they be addressed?
Sure. I'm going to just add from Sashi and Mr. Ramesh. So let's talk about the positive, about India in general, right? So the world is seeing India more as a resilient, reliable supply chain partner when compared to China or any other country, right? So I think this is a good spot to be in. And as Sashi said, they really don't care that you're 10% more expensive than a China plus one or something, right? So we are in a very sweet spot of being a resilient and supply chain partner. So this is an advantage number one. Yeah. Number two, the other positive areas are, let's say, the China plus one. You're getting more inquiries here, but as Ramesh said, are we capable or are we ready yet? You know, the truth is, like a professor says from Cambridge, that anything that could be true about India could also be false, right? Some of the components that we want to manufacture for Germany, the truth is there's no suppliers, like Ramesh Ankul said. And I just had a conference call this afternoon with a German partner. We have a joint venture in Germany, which is called Homa Pumps. It's the fourth largest sewage company in the world. They partnered with us. This is the only partnership they have outside anywhere in the world. And they say 1.4 billion people are there. Go find this wire. There's no wire supplier for this. And you know, this is the challenge now we are facing as a company that wants to be a developed company from a developing economy, right? With that said, there are very big facts, like look at Israel. They invest around 6% of their comparison with GDP. Korea does around 5% in R&D, and India does around 0.5%. So, you know, we are far ahead in innovation or R&D, behind, sorry. So I think one of the areas that is we need to invest more in R&D, as Sashi said, more value-added products. Yeah, so this is what I think we have to work on a lot. These are some of the challenges.
Right.
So the joke is also, again, logistics-wise, it's easier for us to pump water like a mountain ahead, but it's quite challenging for us to move the logistics, you know, across the border. So these are some of the challenges, and I think I would say India has to be more innovative. MSMEs have to be inclusive, again, the sustainability and, you know, empowering women on shop floor and things like this. And more international. I think only when you do exports and globally, your company becomes competitive. Look at, there are good companies like Genetics are sponsored today, right? It's a very good company, value-added products, global exports. So I think, and the last I think you have to be, after international, inclusive, innovation, I think also inclusive, right? So these are the 4 I's I think we have to do as a country in India, and for MSMEs as well.
Right. So yeah, I think we'll take more audience questions, but quickly I'd just like some closing thoughts from all of you to just, I mean, we've spoken a lot about what are the challenges and what MSMEs should do, but maybe also, let's also touch upon this value add, to reach this increase in value add. How can MSMEs help? What should they be doing? Maybe a few words of advice, which areas perhaps specifically or overall, how can they help?
Yeah. See, if we are comparing China, you know, in terms of volume, because of the sheer volume that they produce for the entire world, one thing I've been working with them for 25 years, with all these Chinese companies, but then you starkly see a difference between the way they work versus way our entrepreneurs work here in India. Is that, you know, like, one is I versus we. You know, like they really collaborate as an ecosystem. I mean, they always want to flourish as an ecosystem rather than flourishing as one organization. I think that is one piece that I would say that, you know, like if we have a product there is no need for one company to focus on multiple items on the same product. You rather focus on one and try to be master at it, rather than trying to do 5 things there. I mean, you depend on the next person. I mean, when I say depend, I mean you co-work with the next person or the next org to get a part of it. Example is a tooling, for example. And a tooling in electronics is like a very thing. The same tooling, if you have to do in India versus in China or Taiwan, we could just get it basically in like week or 10 days out there. But then here it takes minimum 50 days. Even the best of the best companies we have worked with in India, it takes 50 days. Whatever, I mean, we have a long list of problems, but then isn't that the opportunity, from moving to 50 to 7, there are a lot of items that we could all look at it. Meaning, from my perspective, I would say that try to focus to master at least 1 or 2 items and be the best in the world at it, rather than trying to do so many things and then, trying to gain mass. I think that would be my one piece of advice.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's
I mean, if you have to kind of take this really to the next stage.
Right, right. Mr. Kumar, what would you say?
So I missed to talk about the challenges, but when we want to talk about the challenges, we need a Vaikunta Ekadashi or a Mahashivratri to talk about all the challenges. So to sum it up, MSMEs are facing a big challenge in the banking in particular. Since a lot of bankers are here, I would like to tell that. Basel III norms, an MSME unit with 20 machines or 50 machines, he doesn't know, it is Greek and Latin for him, about the Basel III norms and rating systems, and they name, there are a lot of terminologies are there. In fact, Tirupur, Coimbatore, all the industry belt has completely developed because of the bankers, their help and their handholding, their support. It is like bankers are like a family doctors. How the family doctor concept has gone as a corporate hospitals takes that place. Likewise, now the bankers have now turned into corporate structure. We cannot able to see somebody, the manager. I feel pity for my branch manager or any branch managers, all the people sitting here. They take the proposal with a positive note, but somebody sitting in Bombay or Calcutta, they doesn't know the ecosystem. They simply go by the books and say, no, this is not possible. This is very bad for exports because these are time-sensitive commitments we have to do in exports. And we never know, since the opportunities are more at this point of time, we never know where my customer is asking for an additional 20% increase in the business. I have to keep everything ready, either on the machines and the working capital, whatever it is. Earlier, it was very easy for us. So in this platform, I would like to urge the government to come up with an MSME policy which will be friendly for the MSME units and remove us from the Basel III norms. This is the first challenge. And technology upgradation fund. This has been stopped by the union government since 10 years. And we have to have this again, because MSMEs who caters for the exports, for example, knitting, dyeing or printing units, they cannot afford to have the machines upgraded. They have some. They need to have some handholding supports of capital subsidy or interest subsidy. This has to be definitely considered, and hopefully our representation with this government has reached to Prime Minister level. Maybe we are expecting a good news in the near future. And the government recently stopped the interest equalization scheme, which is beneficial for the MSMEs. This has to be also restored. These are the main challenges which I want to mention here. And as for, everybody spoke about the populated country like India, we need job creations. In textile, particularly in garment industry, particularly in Tirupur, for 1 crore investment, we can generate 122 direct employment. So this is the need of the hour for India. And many states are coming to us, like Madhya Pradesh is coming to us, Odisha is coming to us, Bihar is coming to us with a lot of lucrative offers to start the industry over there. But with this kind of ecosystem, we are finding it difficult to go there and start our business, which is not affordable for MSMEs. Instead, again, in this platform, I urge those governments to identify the entrepreneurs who are aspiring to start the garment industry. Let them invest, and we also share some part of investment, and we will give all the know-hows, and we have the market capacity, everything, and we can do the manufacturing there in the other states also.
Right, so that's from Tirupur to Bihar. That would be nice to see.
Yeah. Thank
Mr.
you.
Ramesh, what would your be final words for MSMEs to participate in this global economy?
Yeah. One thing I want to say, what Kumar said, okay, it's very tempting, the offers what they give in Odisha. It's very tempting. The only problem, two problems, okay, one is the distance.
Right.
When we don't have a direct flight from Coimbatore, and then the language. So from Tamil Nadu, we don't speak even a single word in Hindi, okay? That's a big, these are the two things we have. Otherwise, it's very tempting, okay? Whatever, I spoke to a few people and asked, they came and met us here too in Coimbatore, and whatever problems we said, and it was the previous government, not now, okay? The government is different. Okay, when they said, they asked, what about energy, okay? He said, we'll give you a design for your own coal thermal power plant. Thermal power plant, and you can have your own captive power generation. You don't need to depend on us. Okay. Second thing about water, he said, we have Mahanadi, he said about 3 million waters are flowing every day or something like that. Okay, I was shocked. And he showed me the picture. And then I said, what about the port? He said 174 kilometers away is the port. We have 6-lane highway already built. It's ready for you. Okay, all your goods will reach there in about 2 hours. Amazing, the kind of offers they gave, okay. So it's very tempting, but if I was of Kanishka's age, I would have taken it. Now he can do it, okay. So,
thank you.
So the challenges are plenty, okay. The challenges are, everything is a challenge for the MSMEs in India, okay. Unless they had done something in the previous birth, they wouldn't be suffering so much here, okay? There is nobody to even care about the MSMEs. We all talk high, okay? 65% of the industries in India are MSMEs, okay? They talk high about it. Nobody cares about them, okay? The moment we go out of this, okay, they have to take an auto and go to the bus stand, take a bus and reach Tirupur. This is the status, okay? So energy is another problem. Taking order is one problem. Energy is another problem, okay? Energy is very expensive in India. Something has to be done about this, okay? They all talk about, okay, say there is no GST, fine, okay? How much it's hurting industries? Nobody knows that, okay? See, I have moved out of fossil fuel some time back, completely. For a foundry, it's not an easy job. I'm completely zero fossil fuel company minus. I'm working towards sustainability, so I'm doing it. For much smaller industry, that's not going to be easy. So how are they going to do it? The energy is so expensive. It's better to go to, frankly speaking, if somebody is listening, okay, go to Iran. 40 liters will be about 85 rupees. I'm talking about petrol. Diesel is cheaper. Okay. So if you want to run a foundry, that's the best place, location. So what are we doing? I'm not talking about that kind. They have their own oil well. They are giving it for cheaper price. I'm not talking about that. If the industry has to grow, you should make them comfortable. In what way? Yes, we want to help the agriculturists. Fine. I understand that. What about these small-time business people, MSMEs? They also need support. Okay. So this has to be taken care of. This is energy. And then we don't have labor here in South India and Coimbatore, okay, these days, okay. We have another problem, okay. So we can take care of them, no problem, okay. We are used to taking care of people. We are very hospitable here, and we will take care of them, okay. Because we all came from the lower level, MSMEs all came from lower level. We know how to take care of people, okay. But we need a little bit of support, okay. We want to give them job. We want to skill them. We want to make them comfortable, provide them with accommodation, okay. And during COVID time, I heard the finance minister talking about helping whoever is going for hostels for the migrating workers. Nothing was done, seriously. Don't take it, I'm complaining about I'm party to some other political party. No, I'm just stating facts, okay. I was eagerly waiting for that, and nothing happened about it, okay. So, but I have constructed a hostel, spending about 1.5 crores for 150 boys to stay. Okay, I'm taking care of them. Okay, I give breakfast free. It's very functional, not an elaborate one. Okay, I give dinner free. The idea behind that is all these guys work for almost 12 hours in our factory. When he is coming early in the morning, 8 o'clock, so he will wake up by only 7:45. What he does, he will not eat. He'll come directly into this. Okay, but we provide a packed one, quick breakfast, and he can work. Same thing, these guys, when they go back home in the evening around 8 o'clock, they don't feel like cooking. They will be. So all these things have to be, small things have to be taken care of, okay? I come to a stage where I can do that. What about the other MSMEs? Those people ought to be really taken care of. I strongly feel government can do a lot, apart from the banks.
Right.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. So Kanishka, I mean, yes, challenges are there, but anything from the side of MSMEs also, what can they be doing to equip themselves?
I think first step is to have aspiration, number one. Invest heavily, boldly in R&D. I think the customer today expects German engineering, Japanese quality, Italian finish at Chinese prices. And this is what we are supposed to do in India, right? Look at it from a customer perspective. We need to be more fast. Like my guys say, if you ask China a quotation, within 3 hours. Our guys are like 7 days or 10 days. And then they say, oh, the sub-supplier didn't give the quotation. So I think we need to improve a lot on scale, speed. I think these are some of my concluding thoughts. And India is still on a global innovation index. Global innovation is a study done by this Oxford, my professor Soumitra. India is 40th in the global ranking. So I think it's a lot to do with MSMEs. We have to move from just a part supplier to a complete product or a system supplier. And I think this is where the real value addition is there for our companies. And I think we will be able to do it. And one more thing I want to add on is what Mr. Sashi said. Rather than doing too many things, if we focus on a few things, then I think we can be world class. So some of the partners that we work with in Europe, they do just one product. But it's for the global market. In my industry, we do multiple products for one market. So if you focus on one product for many markets, then I think that's the first step. Focus and do few things better. I think these are some of my learnings and thoughts, I would say. And collaborate than compete, you know. In Coimbatore or any smaller tier 2 city, there's more opportunity. They're always like very competitive, right? Or they're very, very protective. I think it's a lot to do with collaboration than being, compete. So it's called co-opetition. That's the new mantra for all MSMEs, I would say.
Right.
So,
on that note, co-opetition. So do we have some time for questions? How many questions can we take? 3 questions? Okay, yeah. First.
Hi, I'm Ilam from HDFC
lights,
Bank. I think some of the banking queries my colleague Arvind will be able to kind of address it if it's possible.
Can't hear you.
One of those biggest disruptions right now is this, which has hit the rare earth EV industry, is the rare earth minerals. So now we are at Chinese feet to import that rare earth minerals, and they are not giving us, right? How far is our MSMEs prepared to take this challenge, and when will we get this rare earth? This is for Mrs. Shashi. That's one. And do we have a wish list of some of these components we missed out earlier, which has been dependent on China for a long time? It's not that we suddenly discovered rare earth is from China, right? And we built our EV industry on that. So we will have more and more wish list in terms of such components. Do industry or government has these wish lists that they can kind of discuss in the forums and distribute these opportunities to MSMEs for them to develop products? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think first, how to solve this problem is that, if we start designing, developing, making products ourselves, that's when we find what is actually missing in India. I think that would be the first step. I mean, the step that we have taken is first assemble in India. From there, we are moving towards design in India with all our startups and all that coming. But I think eventually when we go to invent in India, I think that would be the stage where we really understand what are we actually missing in the components in India to be able to make a truly locally made or locally sourced component. In this specific example, like rare earth magnets, which is now the talk of the town, or talk of the country everywhere, And second is coming is the urea. I think that's also there, and third something else will come, and fourth something else will come, and then we keep waking up for everything. There is no immediate answer, like we cannot solve this directly already at this stage. But then, it's not a problem that we can solve in like 1 week. While organizations and governments are all working towards it, but I think government has said we will come up with a special incentive scheme, how we can incentivize not just manufacturing but design, especially focusing on the rare earth magnets. I'm sure many more are going to come, but my answer to this problem would be that if we start making product designs rather than just like final products which somebody else designed, I think that's a day when we will have answers to most of the problems. That would be my take.
Right. Thank you. Maybe we have time for one more question.
Good evening. Good evening. Myself, Dr. P. Vikraman.
Sorry, we can't hear you, sir.
Myself, Dr. P. Vikraman, Aditya School of Business Management, Aditya Institute of Technology. There is one question from my side. Today, there is a news comes in the media. The union government now plans to impose a tax on water usages for agricultural purpose. Water usages, water is going to be main resources for cultivating any products. Definitely it is going to affect the textile industry and sugar industries, pump industries. Coimbatore is a very popular place for making pump, which it affects all the industries. Is it a correct news? Is it a correct information?
I don't think this panel can fact check, sir, without knowing.
I don't think I can answer that question directly. But yes, water is very, very important resource. All MSMEs or companies, we have to recycle, reduce the use of water, and find alternate ways to reuse water. I think water conservation is definitely must. And yeah, agriculture sector takes a lot of water, industries take a lot of water. So we need to invest in opportunities for recycling, reusing water, wastewater treatment, more sewage treatment plants, and yeah, buy our Eki pumps.
And
if it is a fake news, I'm happy.
He is finding customers here. Okay.
Absolutely. When Hindu calls, you have to come. My friend Shivakumar is there. So he will call me later for advertisements.
Okay, last question. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Krishnan. I represent Arthavidi Investment Advisors. I don't have a question, but a word of appreciation for the panelists here, especially Mr. Ramesh. Thank you for highlighting the fact that people don't understand finances. And I have been interacting a lot with the entrepreneurs in this region for past 6 months. And one fact which stands substantiated by Mr. Kumar today is, the top 100 contributes major chunk of the business, and that's precisely because they are much more structured. And the other takeaway for me would be in terms of looking at collaborations. So I would look at collaborating with basically with the bankers to give structure to the finances. Thank you very much for taking this very important piece of advice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thanks a lot. I think time is up. Thank you so much to our panelists for being here and enriching the audience with your views. Thank you.
Check. Well, thank you to our panelists and our moderator for a powerful and a thought-provoking session. Please give them a round of applause. May I now request Ms. Sindhu Hariharan to kindly present a memento to the panelists. gentlemen. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Arun Aravind, Executive Vice President, NSM, Emerging Enterprise Group, HDFC Bank, to kindly join us on stage and to share a few words.
No, I was very comfortable sitting there, but after listening to a lot of questions on banking, I got a bit nervous. Okay, so, but in any case, thank you so much for this opportunity for us to participate in this MSME Day. And I have a small slide just to show you the significance of MSME, as well as the significance of banks in the development of MSMEs and the further growth, right? We'll just wait for the presentation to come up. In the meantime, just want to say this. If you consider a country as a human body, then I would like to call the banks as the heart, right? Because they are the ones who pumps the raw material which you need to run your body, which is blood, right? Here, the money is very important for the MSMEs at the right time. I heard some of the panelists suggesting the difficulties in getting it. And as that signifies that, it is very important that, the money flows happens in the system, and that have to be done through the banks, right? So just to give you a perspective, like I heard one of the other panelists saying that, MSMEs on an individual basis is not being considered as a big thing in the economy. Nobody cares about them. Probably the government doesn't give so much of focus. But I would like to say this, right? If you look at this slide, right? For the last 5-6 years, all of you put together has been the largest contributor to the GDP, right? And in this time, you have seen a lot of new age companies coming in. The Swiggy, Zomato's, HDFC Bank has been one of the largest bank among with the other guys, Reliance and all those people. Though all these companies were thriving, you can see that the share of the MSME GDP is being maintained, right? You have not lost out to the others. So that technically tells you that, you guys are thriving and, continue to thrive. And it is very, very significant for the country if the country have to go from a 3.98 trillion to a 10 trillion as per the government's wish. It is very important that without looking at this industry, neither the bank nor the country can grow. Okay, so this slide is very significant. If you can go to the next one, you can see the next slide. Almost 45% of your India's export is again not done by your Infosys of the world or the TCS of the world or the Reliance of the world. It is again contributed by the MSMEs. Okay. Now let's look at this. Yeah, 45.79. Now the second part which we all talk is basically the support from the government as well as the banks. Correct? Just to go to the next slide. So I don't know whether the number is visible. See the total credit which is outstanding for the MSME as of date, I mean last 2025, is around 35 lakh crore. Okay. 35 lakh crore is the MSME lending by the banks. Banks and their financial system, that includes banks, public, private, NBFCs, all put together. But the unfortunate part is that we have total 6.35 crores MSMEs in this country, right? But among them, only 3.68 crores borrows from the formal banking system. The rest is still taking money from the non-conventional methods like the money lenders, friends and families and other things, right? So they are not yet came to the conventional banking system yet. They are still outside the banking system for various reasons. That is the reason the government has been focused on this particular thing, like the way many of the normal new MSMEs who come up will face these problems, like the way when you go to the banks, they will ask that, what is your past track record? Do you have collaterals? What is the experience in this business? So the government have decided to come up with many schemes. I'm sure one of the biggest scheme which government came up with was CGT SME scheme, wherein the government said that you don't need to have security. If you want to start a business, we will give you security to the bank, okay, and the bank will in turn finance you, right? And the CGT SME has been a runaway success, and it's been doing wonders. I'm sure some of the people sitting here would have been using that, okay? So the government is very focused in terms of supporting this sector because of the reason which I said, the importance of that GDP contribution is so significant, okay? So that will continue to happen. By the way, one more point which I missed, 40% of the employment in the country is being given by you guys, okay? 40% of the India's total employment is being contributed by the MSMEs. That is something which is significant, which cannot be ignored by the government. Tomorrow, if the MSMEs have to go away, there will be anarchy on the streets, okay? Because of that much people, 20.1 crore people is employed with the MSMEs as on date. Now, coming to my, I have a very short time, so I'll go very short, short on my points. All of you are requesting so many things from the government. Every time I heard that, people wanted the policy changes, people wanted the banks to probably support more and all. At the same time, we need to just reflect back on one thing. In India, the biggest problem, I'll just break you one simple number, you will understand why that we are not getting that power to probably represent properly. Out of the 6.3 crores MSME which we have, do you know how many are basically medium, I mean the middle, and the small and the medium? 97% of our total MSMEs which we are having is basically micro, which are the very small level operational MSMEs. The medium scale ones are just around 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs in number. So those are those companies who are like 25 crore plus to probably a 250 crore plus kind of a company. Rest of them are all like below 5 crores kind of a number, right? Now in that segment, what happens is that, we normally play a converter's job, right? When I say a converter's job is that you take scrap, okay? You convert it into a steel, right? And then you earn that 2% margin, okay? So now the problem with that kind of a business, when you operate on a single digit EBITDA or a single digit profit margin, the kind of life which we live today, like the way Aarti was mentioning about Trump, Trump can take you out of business the next day when you wake up. He can just put a tariff on steel. By 27%, you will be out. Probably what will happen tomorrow morning, your steel prices can collapse. And if you are a steel trader who have kept your inventory of say 50 crores or something like that, 10 crores of your inventory is shaved off in a single day, right? So what happens here is that, it's my request, if you look at it as an SME, you need to look at value addition. You need to invest in your R&Ds like the way the other panelist was mentioning, so that your margins are strong, so that you can manage any shocks which is happening in the global system. Otherwise, if you operate on a 2%, 3% kind of a margin, what happens is that, when I have to come and lend to you, I will look at it at a 2% margin. What is my margin of safety? If I see that particular commodity have volatility of 5% on an annual basis, I am funding someone which I am very sure at some point of time during the year can lose the money which they have into the business, right? So we need to focus, even if we do anything, try to do value addition and ensure that you get a margin profile which is slightly better, okay? Somebody mentioned about German companies here. If you know Germany, we all know about the BMWs and Mercedes-Benz and other things. But the German economy is basically stored by the SME companies called Mittelstand companies, right, which is up to $50 million companies. But what is the significance of those companies there is that their EBITDA margins are like around 20% plus. They don't do businesses which are like converting businesses, trading businesses like that, okay? I can only say that, the banks will keep supporting, right? For the bank, as we speak right now, if India were to go from here to a 10 trillion economy, the only two things which will fuel the growth is basically the consumer credit, which is all of you sitting here, credit cards, car loans, personal loans, housing loans, and the MSME debt. Because of the corporates are going to deleverage, right? They are not going to lend, they are not going to borrow. They will raise money and they will only keep money with the banks. The borrowing have to come from the consumer side of it as well as the MSME side of it. So for the next 10 years, my view is that, this growth which you are seeing will just go up. If you can go to one more slide, that is very, very important slide. Yeah. If you look at the NPAs, which was earlier there, right, it will just give you a picture how this economy or how this MSME industry have progressed over a period of the year, right? It used to have 4%, 4.4% kind of NPA on a net level that have now come to the lowest point right now, right? That tells you how the industry have been progressing. There is a clear positive sign for the banks, and if you try to see the previous slide to this, the graph goes up, this goes down. That technically means the lower NPA, the more financing to the industry, right? So that will keep happening, okay? And the other one or two points which somebody have mentioned, I just need to brush upon. I don't think so Basel III will have any direct impact to the MSMEs, okay? It will be largely towards the global banking system. I don't think so there is any specific impact to it, but surely different banks will have different type of underwritings, okay? Probably that is the reason that, they may look at each proposals differently. But as you rightly said, in certain businesses, the whole year you will do the business, but probably you will make money in that 1 or 2 days when you get an opportunity. And that opportunity, if the funds are not there, you miss the opportunity. So it's very important for the banks to fund you at the time when you really need the funds, okay? I think all the banks, including us, will work towards it to ensure that, this particular thing is happening, okay? Just to my last 2 points, I'm sure there is a lot of IPOs are happening. I'm sure a lot of people are getting for fundraise at the SME side. A lot of SME IPOs are happening for the particular reason that banks are not financing people go and take funds from the market. One thing which I will always say, if you look at the cost of funds in the cap table, always equity is the costliest one, right? The debt is the lowest cost one. I'm not trying to market loans here, okay? But you ask anybody who understands equity, they will tell you that is the costliest debt you can take in your balance sheet, right? You need to reach a scale, and once you reach a scale, that is the time you need to dilute your equity, okay? Just because wherever I travel, I get these questions, wherever I interact, so that's the reason I thought that it is very important for me to tell. The last point, yes, the topic was about turbulent times. Every day you see war, sometimes you don't predict something happens. That is the world we are living in, and it will continue like that. But I can only say the world belongs to the optimist. It is not belongs to the pessimist. We all seen worse things in the past. We have seen COVID, we came out. We have seen World War I, we came out. We saw World War II, we came out, right? The humankind will always thrive. It will only go up, okay? So be very clear, be optimistic about it. Last point, just to give an example, when you buy a share for 100 rupees and you being a pessimistic guy, what is the downside? The downside is 0. But if you are an optimistic guy and buy a 100 rupee share, that can go to 1 crore, probably 10 crores also, right? So always the world belongs to the optimist, okay? And I have a very little time, otherwise I know that you would like to ask me a lot of questions, so I've been saved by Hindu that it is a speech. So I'm just giving you a speech on that side. I personally feel the banks have a very big role to play, and we know the importance of MSMEs, and we are one of the largest lenders when it comes to the SME space. We will continue to do that. We have a network, and we will invest in it, right? And we will try to push maximum credit flow which can come to you in a fashion and time manner wherein you will get the money on time. Okay, that is an assurance from HDFC Bank. And I would like to thank Businessline for conducting this, especially in Coimbatore. Okay, Tamil Nadu, of course, is the top 5 MSME states in the country, and of course number 1 or number 2 when it comes to manufacturing space. So thank you so much for that. And I would like to thank all the panelists who have given their views and the wisdom to all the people sitting here. And thank you so much for all the MSMEs here. Just keep this slide in your mind, right? You are no less. You are the top contributors to the country when it comes to employment, when it comes to GDP, right? As a proud the partner to you, we will want to continue that relationship going forward. And the next time when I come, I hope that our share to GDP will move towards 50%. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause. That was a very inspiring insight and a very compelling presentation. Thank you. I would now like to request Mr. Rajesh Menon. He is the Senior General Manager, Advertisement Tamil Nadu, to kindly join us on stage and to present a memento to him. Thank you, sir. I request Mr. Menon to kindly stay back on stage. I'd like to invite Mr. Ramesh, Executive Director of Janetics, to kindly come up on the stage. We would like to honor you, sir, for your continued support. Janetics, ladies and gentlemen, simplifying automation for every industry. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, to formally close this evening proceedings, may I now invite Mr. R.L. Shivakumar, the General Manager, Advertisement, the Hindu Group Coimbatore, to kindly join me on stage and to deliver his vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ekta. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks at the conclusion of this insightful edition of the Businessline MSME Growth Conclave 2025. Coimbatore, at the outset, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. R. Nandini, immediate past chairperson, CA Southern Region and Managing Director, Chandra Textiles, for her gracious present and inspiring address as guest of honor. Our sincere thanks to all our eminent speakers, panelists, and moderators who made this evening truly enriching with their perspectives and domain expertise. We are deeply grateful to Mr. Raghuveer Srinivasan, editor, The Hindu Businessline, along with Mr. M. Ramesh, Ms. Aarti Krishnan, and Ms. Sindhu Harigaran for anchoring the discussion with such a clarity and purpose. A special thanks to our partners whose support has made this event possible, powered by Janetics. The moment we said this is an MSME event and engineer on MSME Day, he said, we'll be there, we'll be part of it. Thank you very much, sir. So you are definitely a great supporter to us. And HDFC Bank and associate partners, SSVM Institutions, Coimbatore, City Union Bank, Radiance Reality,
Sidbi, South Indian Bank, Tally, Milky Mist, Indian Overseas Bank, Union Bank of India. Our luxury partner is Lexus. We truly value your partnership and continued support. I would also like to place on record our appreciation for the editorial, marketing, production, and events team at the Hindu Group who have worked with a remarkable commitment to bring this conclave to life. And finally, to all of you in the audience, thank you for being with us this evening. Hope these sessions offered valuable insights and meaningful takeaways for each of you. We now welcome you to join us for a cocktail and dinner. Thank you once again and have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Hindu Business Line, thank you for joining us for these wonderful sessions. And like Mr. Shivakumar just mentioned, I hope that there are a lot of takeaways for you. And do join us for cocktails and dinner. It's me, Ekta, signing off. Thank you.